What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Apex, the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 1 week out from the LAN in Mannheim, Germany, and we're excited to get in and break down and talk about all of the different storylines, as well as some of the teams that maybe you're not fully thinking about, the storylines that you have been thinking about, all of that stuff all rolled together into one episode. And who better to bring on to talk about competitive Apex Legends than the boy Jayhawk himself. Jay, how are you doing, my man?
Doing good, recovering from COVID, finally
Nice.
Starting to feel good. So
easy bounce back. You win those ones.
Oh yeah, I was pretty bad for about like the first 3 or 4 days, but now I'm actually starting to feel normal again. So yeah, we're doing great.
Can I just jump in for a sec? We need to, like, he is the boy, but we need to fix Jay's title here because he is now Apex YouTuber, professional IGL for Call of Duty Zombies, and official competitive Apex analyst on the desk. Congrats. At EWC.
Congrats at EWC.
Light work.
Wow. It's crazy.
Appreciate
it's
it.
crazy how far he's come. Jay, how was EWC for you?
It was a blast. I've only been to 3 total LANs, and this was like the first one that I officially worked technically, because at Champs, I did like the video stuff behind the scenes, but I wasn't like actually contracted to do any of that. It was more so like, we'll pay for you to come here if you like kind of come help us out, and I was down for it. And then in LA, I was paid, but it was more like you're doing the video thing, and like we'll kind of throw you on the desk a couple times too. This time I was on the desk every single time, the whole time. So it was a blast. I loved the like studio setup they had with the like the interactive wall behind us, because I'm a nerd for the map and I love talking about that, and actually being able to like interact with the set was really cool. I was getting roasted pretty hard on some watch parties apparently for my socks, because my sock game was in absolute shambles because the socks I brought, I unknowingly packed socks that had holes in them. So I was mixing and matching different pairs that were different lengths, and people noticed apparently, because we didn't have like the physical desk where it like covers our lower half of our body. So, you know, it is what it is, but
gotta give people something to talk about, make it a little bit more memorable.
The funny thing is on the Friday, where it's like 11 a.m. and someone tweets out about it, and Jay like tells me this. I'm like, bro, there is literally a mall next door.
Yeah.
Like it is like 30-second walk. I'm like, he's like, you want to go? We go. We search every door how to get in. We're like, maybe the tech store is closed. Maybe the coffee shop's closed. No, in Saudi Arabia on Fridays, they don't open things till 2:30. Well, Jay had to be back at the venue for 2, so didn't get his socks.
Couldn't buy socks. We tried to go buy some socks, but
damn.
I had like one pair that was matching, and so they also did laundry at the hotel, so I would wear that pair, send it for laundry, get it the next morning, wear it again. So I was just reusing the same pair the rest of the time because it was the same length. So
there we go. I love it. You also, I want to give. I talked about this on the show when we were doing the EWC like wrap ups, but the story where I just sent you a rogue text and I was just like, all right, work in these 3 zombies maps into your breakdown. I did Buried, I did Origins, and I did what was the other one? Revelations. And I was like, I'll see if Jayhawk does this. Like, that'd be so funny if he did. Didn't get a text back, and I'm watching the breakdown, and I'm just like, oh, I don't think he got it, or maybe he's too focused on locking in. And then I heard Buried. I was like, wait a second, is this it? Yeah, I want people to hear your backstory on that bad boy.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think it was the finals when you texted me this, right? Or was it
no,
LCQ?
No, it was LCQ. It was LCQ.
Yeah. Okay,
because we started cracking jokes about what you could do for finals.
Yeah, so it was the LCQ, and for the LCQ, we were going up every 2 games for the desk, right? But during that, we had like throughout the days, we would have a guest come on, and when we would do that, somebody from us 4 would have to hop out. And so we had Lace, she was like the one who was interviewing all the players and stuff. She hopped on as a guest, and I was the one who was told to hop out. So you text me this, and that next segment I wasn't gonna do it, because we're literally prepared to like go up there and do it as you're texting me this, and then I hop out. So then while I'm just sitting there, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, because I wasn't just gonna wing it. Because my worry was if I just walked up there and had no clue, and then I just tried, I would like completely blow it, and it would look really bad. And then people would be like, "What were you doing up there?" But then I start thinking about ways, because now I've got this break and the next 2 games to think about what's gonna happen. What can I say? And immediately I'm like, well, I could say something like, this team is buried on the leaderboard, and that kind of flows. That's a little natural. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. If I get thrown a question from Rain Day to talk about the leaderboard, I'll do it. And lo and behold, when we get up there, it's like 2 hours later, because we had some technical difficulties. And actually, it wasn't even 2 games, because that was the halftime break. So we had 3 games, and then I go back on. So it's like 2 hours later, and I go up there, and Rain Day throws me the question to talk about the leaderboard. And he specifically mentioned, I think, some team that was doing bad as well. And I said that, that team, they're kind of buried on the leaderboard. And then from there, I was like, okay, while we're up there live, I'm sitting there thinking, how can I incorporate Revelations? How can I incorporate Origins? And Revelation, I was like, okay, I can do something along the lines of like a team needs a comeback. So can they have some sort of revelation that brings them back into this lobby? And I was like, boom, go with it. And then while I was up there live, I just couldn't think of a way to say Origin, but I was really bummed, because almost immediately after I get off, I was like, dude, I could have easily done Revelation and Origin in the same sentence. I could have said, is this the revelation of their comeback? Can Stormpoint be the origin of the comeback they need? Something along those lines. I could have easily fitted it in there, but I didn't think about it until after. So I got 2 of the 3. I wish I got the 3rd.
I was so hype. I was at work. I was just sitting at like this desk where like mechanics come up and ask for parts, and I'm just like pumped. I heard Barry. I was like, I like stood up for a second. I was like, dude, come on, just 2 more. And then I heard the revelations. I think you were talking about TSM. Like they could have a revelation to like come back or something. And then I was just like, oh, dude, now he's got the easiest one. And then you never got a chance to go back and say it. So I was like, damn.
I wanted him to hit Quick Revive at some point the next day. I think
Quick Revive
was pretty easy. Oh,
well,
so team was doing so-and-so. They hit the Quick Revive. They're back in the game. Like that's
Well, so after I immediately texted him when I get off, and I said, I did it. And then like 5 minutes later, because there's the delay, he's like, I just saw it. That was sick. Here's another one. And he gave me 3 NFL quarterback names. But
they were too easy, though.
I didn't end up doing it because it was like super easy. Like one of them was Bryce Young, and it's just young. And I was like, I could easily throw the word young in there. Like affect the young fragger for Alliance. Like, you know what but it wouldn't, nobody would know that I'm trying to do anything like that. So
yeah, it was Young, Carr
Watson,
for Derek Carr, and I think I did Watson. Yeah, because I was like, oh, Watson's getting played. I was trying to think of ones that would be easy, but like, yeah, it was just too
But
easy.
Those would literally feel like I'm actually talking about Apex. Like if someone had the Carr, if someone's playing Watson, like literally nobody would know. So I was like, not worth.
I was just happy to see it. See it. Well, I'm glad EWC went well, and
well, hold on, real quick.
Cool to watch.
We got to tell the people that then you jokingly told me, all right, next up you have to say Noctur on Toten.
Yeah. I texted him back. I was like, good job. Now the next segment, here's the 3 you need to hit: Zetsubo no Shima, Noctur on Toten, Derize and Drock. Should be real easy. I think you can get in and out of that one real fast. Yeah. Unfortunately, he didn't hit any of those.
Last thing I was gonna say though, Jay, I don't know if you saw it. I was watching a lot of the streams back. I was watching it through Nicewigg's POV because I'm like, I could get both the casters and Wigs reactions to everything, and the chats were loving your fits. So outside of the sock disaster, they were liking your outfits. And that was pretty cool for EWC. You guys were on there every 2 games. That's a lot more than the analysts do at ALGS. Or first official one, you were up there a lot. But
yeah, we were up there a lot, and I really enjoyed the fact that, which I don't expect this to ever be a thing for that like official ALGS broadcast, because they just have so many people that are in and out. And they pay them for the full day. So it's like someone will be a caster, then they'll come in and they'll do like analysis for the next set. Yeah. Because with EWC, they only hired 2 sets of casters, which was On Set and Gaskin, and then Genome and Vicky, and they just flip between those 2. But for actual ALGS, Tiff and Dia are in there. Sometimes, like last LAN, they had Graceful hop in for a set. Like they do stuff like that, right? So Also, Glitter casted for a set last time as well. So they just have more of a rotating desk to where this time it was just us four every time with some guests coming in. So I really enjoyed the constant like ability to like do it, honestly, because I just like talking about Apex. So
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more Apex and let's start talking about this LAN coming up in Mannheim, Germany. Now, there's a lot of different points we could get to, but I think just to start it off, we talk a lot of NA here, and there's a lot of storylines in NA right now. Obviously, you got Falcons, you've got TSM, you've got some of the other teams that didn't perform super well at EWC, like SSG. For you, Jayhawk, what is the biggest storyline, at least in NA, that you're looking at and saying, this one is kind of on the forefront of my mind going into Germany?
For NA, it's a combo of, well, for NA, it's obviously Team Falcons, because this is the super team that was supposed to win everything, and they didn't win EWC despite the fact that we went 13 games. Like, there was so many chances for them to win, and they didn't do it. So obviously that's kind of like the biggest storyline coming into Split 2 playoffs is, okay, that's EWC. There was some wackiness to that, like the 60-point threshold. There was no draft, blah, blah, blah. Team Falcons as a roster has existed under only the draft. So maybe with the draft scenario and like the way that that's going to work, and there's no more advanced starting points and all the differences that are in an official ALGS lobby, does Team Falcons reclaim their title? Is EWC, like, we're not discrediting Alliance's win, but obviously the format is just a little different than what an official ALGS LAN is going to look like. So does Falcons bounce back? But also at the same time, for NA as a whole, this region is considered the best in the world. And in terms of like overall placements at both of the finals lobbies the last two times, like that still holds true. But at the same time, in year 4 of the ALGS, an NA team has yet to win a LAN. We've got Reject, we've got Alliance. The two regions who had never won a LAN have all of a sudden won LANs. And so in my sort of storytelling brain, the previous era, the first 3 years of the ALGS, are the era of the two dynasties, TSM, Dark Zero. All of a sudden, year 4 has become the floodgates are open. The other regions are winning. How does NA respond at this LAN, even apart from just Falcons? Because with Moist, they've been looking really strong. Can they continue the trend of new teams winning, but also at the same time win for North America? Furia has been looking really strong recently, especially, I think they just won the most recent, like, what was it, Code Red tournament? Code Freedom tournament. Yeah. So they've been looking really strong. I know that Bleed has kind of started to pioneer this like Newcastle meta. So they've been looking pretty good. Liquid, obviously, they looked really good at EWC, despite the fact that a lot of people want to criticize them because they didn't close it out. So there's been a lot of NA teams that have looked really strong. So it's the main storyline is obviously Falcons. Does the super team fully establish themselves as a super team? Because if they don't win, we need to start having a conversation.
You think it's that time already?
If you're the super team, if you're the team that has been assembled, the 3 greatest players of all time, all that kind of stuff, and you're supposed to win everything, and you don't win EWC, and then you don't win Split 2 playoffs, are you really a super team at that point? Like,
I'd say if you play second in both, yeah, you're still a super team.
If they play second, that's a little different, because obviously,
I mean, we're acting. Yeah. I mean, we're throwing out the term, will Falcons bounce back from their second place? Like,
that's what the expectations are.
No, I mean, like, obviously, like, when you look at that team, it's if they don't win it, and it's a bust. But like, if you second place and then you second place, like, and they, let's say they have a Furia-esque performance where they are just like the outright clear, just best team, and then they come in second. Like, what are they? Who are they? What do you do to make that team better if you're okay, this isn't working?
Well,
like,
I'm not suggesting
there's nothing you could do to change that team in a positive way.
100%.
I agree, but at EWC, they only ended up 2 points ahead of the second place team. If LG won, LG actually takes most points, and I know they didn't have Hal, but Split 1, they weren't even like Dark Zero wasn't even the team with the most points. So in a vacuum, I guess you could almost say, like, yeah, they are still the best team. Like, group stages, they crush, obviously. Well, we'll see it Split 2, but I think I see a bit what Jay's saying.
All I'm saying is even if they get second at this event, there's a conversation to be had, because then all that means is Zero has failed to close out 3 LANs in a row, despite being the first team on match point, despite being the best team in the world, dominating all the way through. And then like, this is the guy who, and for the record, I'm not making this claim right now, but if they were to lose split 2 playoffs, this is the guy who's supposed to be the one that if anybody's going to close it out, it's him. He's the best IGL in the world. He's the one that made Hal stop IGLing. That's how good he is, you know? So if they can't close it out, I do think there's a conversation to be had, just to be fair, because we've had a lot of conversations about a lot of other teams, you know, like how many people criticize Sweet for years because he can't close it out. And then all of a sudden we've got this super team. And if they can't close out 3 LANs in a row, I think there needs to be, well, I guess for them it'd be 2. But, you know, Gen and Zero would be 3. So there'd be a conversation there. So that's the main storyline for NA is obviously Falcons. If they win, then they're doing what everybody expected. Boom. They are truly the super team. If they get second or worse, then there will be a conversation. It just depends on how they look, I guess.
Zero
Rebuttal.
does have.
I think the fact that you're having that conversation, the fact that you're even having the conversation itself is a testament to the like,
oh no,
there's no other team that's even remotely close.
Absolutely.
Like that, like just there's no team that even like
it is
that
absurd.
Even, like even remotely gets to as close as they are.
It is absurd that in a battle royale we are holding a team to such a high standard that second place is a disappointment.
And we're talking about crazy. A battle royale in the first place. Like, the fact that we're saying that if they don't win a match point for like that, if they were to go like 3 or like 2 straight or 3 straight of not closing out, like I think that's just underplaying how absolutely unreal it is, how successful they've been up until this point. That you're saying that like if a team doesn't come out in first in a battle royale, where there's just so many different things that can and will go wrong. Like, I can see where you're coming from.
I fully admit
in my
absurd.
opinion, they could come like 10th in the next LAN, and I'm still call them a super team. I don't care, but I can respect the opinion if some people want to take that title away.
I fully admit it's absurd. It is ridiculous, but that's how great the legacy and the history of these players are. Like the fact that for all those years, nobody else could win. That's why they're at this standard. And that's why we hold them to such a ridiculous, like first or nothing. You know what I mean? And they hold themselves to that standard. So I think,
but like
I think it's fair.
At some point you're due, right? At some point, regardless of how good an athlete is, for the most part, eventually you're due to have a little rough patch.
Sure.
I think go ahead.
When you're the super team, you are inviting the criticism, you know?
100%.
Like, when they decided to form, they themselves knew it was championship or bust.
Yeah.
Which they were already being held to that standard anyway, but it wasn't as big a deal when DZ gets second because it's like, well, you know, TSM did 17th, Reject was really good, blah, blah, blah. But when you add Hal to that roster, now it's like, all right, win or nothing. Like, if you don't win, people don't care. So
I think the other thing too is like it's not suggesting that if they got second, they need to like look for a roster change. There's no roster change.
You still run it back with champs.
Yeah, you run it back champs. You run it back year 4, like unless
year
champs
5.
they somehow
year 5.
Pickup. There is no upgrading that roster.
Yeah, there isn't. Like that's the thing. Like no one's suggesting that, but it's like it's just like this ultimate undefeatable super team. Like that's not the narrative anymore.
No, I would say that like if they don't win this next one, and let's say like they don't win champs after that, I think you will see an absolute just fury unleash, and they'll pop off for like 3 in a row.
I will never.
And like I'm just saying, like if that happens, I think if they even go one more LAN without winning, we're gonna see some like passion.
Yeah, I will never doubt their ability. As long as this team exists, they will be the favorite. Even when other people are winning, they will always be the favorite unless some other dynasty forms. Like if
what
Alliance,
if they losers round 1? Losers round one.
I don't care.
I
just
still
don't.
think they would be the favorite for the
I don't
next
care.
one.
Super team.
I mean, look
I
at
just don't
DZ.
care.
Like,
I know.
look at what happened to them at Champs.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
nobody
yeah.
was like, well, Zero didn't even make a finals lobby. Guess he's washed. Like, some people said that.
Some
but,
people,
you know.
Hal
tweeted it. Hal tweeted that
Okay.
fans,
To be
the
fair,
Hal
Hal
fans were
tweeted that, and then you
so
know
big.
that
Debate.
if Hal was offered that after Champs, he probably still would have considered it. He wouldn't have taken it because they just won Champs, but he would have
Yeah.
considered teaming with him because Hal was doing it just to troll him. But you know, my point being, obviously, that with that talent on that roster, I will believe that they are capable of winning as long as they are a team. But if they don't win, then that means that the doors have opened, assuming it's not like TSM that wins and that's just another roster that's already won before. That means that either Alliance have won back-to-back, which would be with a sub too, which would be crazy. And then now we're starting to talk about, do we have a new dynasty forming?
Alliance just keeps stealing Navi's players and winning lands. Like,
what does this say about
if he takes
Matafe?
Tyler
I'm not going to
and
go
wins.
there. I'm not going to go there.
That's not even
But
where I went.
I know, but I had to throw it out there as a joke, but I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
But I will say if Hawkins can win with, anyway. So either Alliance are forming a new dynasty. Sadly, we can't see Crazy Raccoon at this most recent at Germany because they didn't qualify, so we won't have that talking point. Or we'll have another new team winning, which means, is the rest of the world catching up? Is the super team actually so super that they're this far ahead of the pack? Or do we need to have a conversation that there's a lot of other teams in the mix here that can challenge them every single LAN moving forward? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the point I wanted to move forward to here is when this whole ALGS thing first started, I think a lot of people assumed because it was a battle royale that there was going to be a lot of different teams and a lot of different players who were going to be winning all these events. I guess the question leading into that now is, have we reached a point where moving forward, it's continuously going to be a new squad with maybe one or two faces who have already won it before? Or do we think that this super team is really just that far head and shoulders above everybody else? Because like you said, 13 games in a final, that's a lot of chances that they had to close it out, and they weren't able to do it. It just kind of shows not even like their shortcomings. It just shows what a battle royale is like. This was what we all thought it was going to be. We all thought that there was going to be multiple different teams winning, not two dynasties that we had. So maybe it's just, we're just reaching that point in history, you know?
I don't think any team that has had the most advanced starting points, like first going into match or like the match point championship Sunday, has won. And I also don't think the team that was first to match point has also won.
Never.
So like they got to stop doing that. Maybe that's what their problem is. Dark Zero's done that.
And I will say, because there have been people that will bring up, well, Reject hit it the same game Dark Zero did. Yes, but in that game, Dark Zero technically hit it first.
I didn't even know that, but there you go.
They both hit it in the same game, but DZ hit it first in that game. Reject hit it second, so technically DZ was the first team to hit it.
That still counts.
So Reject did not hit match point first. DZ did. But on that point, I do think it just depends on what happens. If Falcons win split 2 playoffs and champs, then we're not having that conversation. Then it's okay. They fell off for a little bit, and by fall off, we mean they got second place. Somebody else was able to take the win. Listen, when you win every LAN for 4 years, second place is a fall off. You know, so they fall off their throne for like 2 LANs. They're washed L plus ratio. But now they're back. They're winning back-to-back LANs. They're the super team, blah, blah, blah. But if a different team wins split 2 playoffs and they win champs, or they win split 2 playoffs and a different team wins champs, if we go if all of year 4 is different teams winning every single LAN, then I do think that is a conversation to be had about is the rest of the world finally catching up in terms of how to play a battle royale. I don't think the answer there is that this is just what a battle royale is. There's the RNG factor. Different teams win. I don't think that's what's happening, because if you look at the teams that have beaten DZ/TSM/ the super team, being Alliance and Reject, these are teams that, like, the core of those rosters have existed for so long. Like, Hawkins has been competing since day one. Obley and Karampu were competing since day one. So was Sang Jun. Like, these guys were veterans of the game. Obviously, Unlucky Effect a little more, fresh, but like the core of Alliance and like the lineage of Alliance, it's been a long time coming. And I do think that if there was going to be a team that's going to win, that's not the teams who have currently won, it's going to be somebody like that. It's going to be like a Sweet or like a Waltzy or like the guys who have been around for so long, that have competed for so long. I think it's only a matter of time until they like actually finally break through. They've been in the finals forever. They've been doing it. It's just, can they finally break through? I don't think it's going to be some team that's like it's their first or second LAN. Like, these guys are relatively fresh. I think it's the guys who have been competing 5, 6, 7 LANs deep that are the ones that are challenging for the actual win.
And to that point, I mean, like, even if you looked at someone like Dark Zero Zero, when he won his first LAN, like, the dude was dominating APAC South and had been competing since the game was out. So even then, like, it was dedicated players that had put all their time into the game winning. And I tweeted it recently, but like, I won't go through it all. But the other thing is like, Reject, there's an argument to be made that they were undeniably the best team at that tournament too. Yes, Dark Zero broke records, but in group stages they were in like third. In winners bracket they were second, and then they were first overall for finals. Like, that's a consistent performance all throughout the tournament. And then likewise with Alliance, they win their group stage commandingly. A difficult group stage too. Like, Falcons is insane. I think that they would have won that group stage too, but that day 2 was much more difficult. A lot of people, I think, would agree with that than day 1. And then they finished 2 points behind Falcons on day 4 on Championship Sunday. So, just to add on to your point, the best teams, or at least top teams, are winning these tournaments. It's not just flukes because it's a battle royale.
Yeah. I didn't want it to sound like that. It was more just that a lot of these players who were closer are finally starting to get to that point where, like, okay, I figured this out now. Now I know where to go. Yeah,
I don't think you were, just especially with the match point format in general. A lot of people are like, the best team doesn't fucking win. Like, there's only one time a team didn't win that they weren't in the top 2, and that was Dark Zero at Champs, and they finished 5th. Other than that, it's always been first or second for like total points.
Yeah, I will say too, just on an aside on that argument of when people say the best team didn't win, it does kind of irk me a little bit, because it's like, sure, like theoretically, Furia did put up the most points, but going into that match point lobby, we all know that's not how you win. So it's like, how can you, like, that's what irks me, is when people say, the best team didn't win. But the way that we choose who the best team on the day is by reaching match point and then winning a game. So like, it's a completely different format. So they were the best team because they were the only one who was actually able to do it. Nobody else was able to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like if like you're talking about like hockey.
Sponging up points doesn't make you better.
Yeah, like imagine like in like basketball, hockey, or baseball. Like, imagine, I'm just gonna go with hockey is easiest, but like imagine you win like game 1 of a 7-game series, like 10-1, and then you lose the next 4 games straight, but you had a higher score differential. You had a higher score differential, but you didn't win the next 3 games or 4 games. So
I literally watched my Colorado Avalanche take a 2-0 series lead against the Vegas Golden Knights by winning a game 7-1. I was like, oh, this is easy. We lost 4 straight games after that and got eliminated from the playoffs. It was one of the like deepest hurt feelings I've ever felt watching sports, because I was like, dude, we beat them 7-1. What happened? We just sucked afterwards, you know? It happens like that all the time.
An example of literally what Jumba's saying, I remember it was in the bubble, the Celtics playing the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Celtics, when they would win, it was a 7-game series or a 6-game series. Every game the Celtics would win, they would blow them out by 30. And then all the games the Heat would win, they'd win by like 2. The Heat win the series, and they had a worse point differential. The Celtics scored more points in the series, but lost the overall series because they lost more games. And it's like, you could argue, like, by that logic, the Celtics are the better team. But at the end of the day, they didn't win.
Yeah,
I felt like it would be more common in basketball, but I didn't have an example, so just But that's exactly how I would think about it.
And I don't say that to take that away, because I will say the Furia one is the only one that was like a huge differential, to where it's like, okay, I understand, like, Furia was so freaking good on that day that like you can make that argument. But I get annoyed because it's like people don't hold that same opinion when it's like, oh, NRG scored more points than TSM at split on playoffs. Are you saying NRG was better? No, because it wasn't a huge gap. So it's like, what is the actual point differential that we argue that for? So yeah. The team who wins is the best team.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to move on into some teams that did not do well. And this isn't just focused on NA. These are some teams that didn't do well at EWC. And we kind of talk about EWC because it's the latest tournament we've had before this one. The
Are you an
teams
SSG hater? It sounds like you want to talk about SSG.
I am. I am. I kind of am. They pissed me off on like this last one and the one before. So I kind of want to talk SSG. I also really want to talk Fnatic though, because Fnatic was really surprising. And Jay, I haven't talked to you a whole bunch about the actual games of EWC, more the experience, but I would love to hear your take on what do you think went wrong with Fnatic. And then another one is obviously TSM. They didn't make it to that finals lobby. They were oh so close. They had a chance there at the end, but they weren't able to secure it. Just some of those teams, like, is there anything you can see reasons why we shouldn't take their EWC performance into account going into Germany?
For TSM, they're the easiest one to talk about. They have this issue where they'll start really good and then like the first 2 games like pop off and then suck the rest of the day. And that was happening in Pro League too. So it's not like I wasn't surprised when during that LCQ bracket they popped off really, or actually it happened in groups too. In their group stage, I think they won game 2.
They won game 2.
And then they proceed to do nothing the rest of the day and they don't qualify. And then in LCQ, they pop off early and then they kind of have a lot of points and they kind of maintain it throughout the day. And then at the end, they fall off and somebody surpasses them.
I think LCQ was a flip. They won
was
like
it
yeah, like it was like game 8. They like Thoreau game 8 getting 20 points when they should have won, and winning that game might have quelled them honestly. But yeah, they threw the game, and then after they got like 16 points after that, instead they had I think they had actually a really slow start. But like it's to your point on that, not to like just correct you there. It's more so I do think just like consistency about playing a full day.
Right.
We talked about this on the pod throughout. It's just like you didn't really know what you were getting. Like they sometimes like they finished second in Pro League, but there was bad days and then they would come first, right? By like saving themselves sometimes in the last 2 games. So yeah, just like the consistency throughout a set.
Yeah, I mean, even if like it was at the end, then yeah, exactly. That's the point, is the consistency of like clearly they're able to like kind of have that magic and then they can't maintain it. Whether it's early on, they start slow and then it takes them too long to get there, or it's at the beginning, boom, they come out heavy hitting and then they take their foot off the gas pedal. They just need to be more consistent across the games. In terms of the specifics on why they're doing bad, I don't know, but I do know that it went a little bit, I wouldn't say viral, but it was like posted on the Reddit that Verhulst was pretty upset, I think like yesterday or 2 days ago, and was saying like, we suck because they did not do good. I think maybe it was one of the Code Red tournaments, or is it Code Red? What is it?
Code Freedom.
Code Freedom. I don't know why I keep saying Code Red.
It's
Code
like the
Freedom.
old tournaments.
Mountain Dew on the
race
brain.
once.
Yeah. I've been researching a very old tournament, if anyone hasn't picked that up. So the Code Freedom ones, I think they did bad. And then like scrims, I don't know the actual scrim scores, but clearly Verls has not been happy with their play because he's coming out here and saying they suck. If they do bad at Split 2 playoffs, wouldn't be shocked if there's a roster change. I don't know what that roster change would be, if it's dropping Zap and trying to pick up an actual IGL. Like a Designful, do you revisit that well? Would he want to do that? Because DSG does have a champs spot. I don't know. I don't even know when the champs roster lock is. Or would you...
TSM doesn't. You're right.
Yeah.
Like they got to lock it in here.
Now, TSM has a champ spot.
They were in 17th. Like they might by the math. Like there's a good chance they do, but it's not guaranteed as of right now.
It's not guaranteed, but even as long as they don't get like literally dead last at this tournament, they should be going, because then they're going to get playoff points from this one too, and it should be enough. Because last year it was enough just making one finals lobby. Even if you miss the next LAN, you still made it. So
I've been curious about that. I didn't know that.
So I think they'll be good. That said, it depends on. There's just it depends on how many repeat teams from last LAN's finals lobby also make this finals lobby, and then that'll determine it. But I think that should happen, because you're going to have a lot of teams like Falcons who are going to obviously make it back, Alliance, etc. Anyway, point being, if they do bad at Split 2 playoffs, though, I think we could see a roster change, because going into champs, there's a long break is all I can say. I don't know the official date, but I know it's going to be a little while. And so that could give teams plenty of time to try and pick up a new player, whether that be an IGL in that sort of scenario where it's to drop Zap, or do Verhulst and Reps want to part ways? They've been together for so long. Do one of them want to go and look for a new team or retire or what have you? I don't know. So, and that's assuming they do bad, because so far, like you said, didn't do good at DWC. Clearly have not been doing great recently in scrims. Who knows what happens at Split 2 playoffs? I'm hoping they pull it together because I actually really like this roster.
Yeah, it just really looks like the issue is they picked up Zap and just didn't really have like that solution of we got ourselves a great player, but where are we all going to fit? It just never it just seems like they've never been able to put it all together. I think on the interview with Verholst last time we talked to him, he had mentioned they reached out to Strafing Flame and asked if there was a chance that he would make it to NA. I don't know if they revisit that again. That would be for them a super interesting and ideal move. I don't know if that's even possible, but the fact that they even reached out, I think is something to keep an eye on in the first place.
I think it was actually the flip. I think Strafing Flame reached out to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's even
which
more
could be more interesting because then if they do want to drop somebody and pick up Strafing Flame, he's already shown interest. Does he want to come to you? You know what I mean?
I think the problem's the double M&K. They were like so bent or like focused on like the controller, which maybe with the changes of season 22, maybe they open up to the double M&K again, but
it might be double M&K meta. I think that's something that we have to really look forward to, is seeing how big of a difference that 0.3 is going to make in this next LAN, because we've seen like controller, it's just been controller dominant. Now, dude, when you're trying to shoot as somebody tap strafing, going crazy, doing the thing, it's a little bit harder than it used to be.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the aim assist nerf is necessarily going to make that big of a difference at like this highest level, because like we've been watching like the best controller players in the world, and we're still going to be watching the best controller players in the world, and they're still going to be doing the same thing that they were doing. But we've seen Furia, like this is the best that they've looked, and double M&K, I think that we're NRG could be primed to have one of the best tourneys they've had in a long time. I do think that's a storyline to keep an eye on.
It is.
From your experience playing, like, how do you think the shotguns might affect like M&K being back? You think it's like a big deal? Like, is it harder for the controller players? Like,
I wouldn't say it's necessarily harder, because I don't think that shotguns are hard for controller players to use. Mm-hmm. It's just like it's easier for a controller player to one clip somebody with an SMG than it is for M&K. But dude, the shotguns right now have, in my opinion, have really never been in a as good of a spot as they are now. You have the Akimbo Mozams, which are just absolutely absurd, and there needs to be like a fix where you can't have hammer points or you can't have attachments at all when they're akimbo, because those things are just absurd. But even with those being as strong as they are, I still will pick up a Mastiff. Because the Mastiff is that good. Its range is like way better. It's hitting way more consistent. And the damage is just nuts. Like you're getting consistent 90 pumps with decent range. And when you're jiggle peeking somebody, like even if they have Mozams, if you have something you can jiggle peek, the Mastiff is on top. And then even with all of that being said, if you're like point blank against somebody, there's not a better gun in the game than the Eva. The Eva actually has a higher DPS, like has the highest DPS in the game right now. But again, doesn't quite have that range. But shotguns as a whole, never been better. Like, and we're seeing like a little bit of a Newcastle meta. I mean, shotguns are coming back, and it's going to be
Newcastle wall fights, no bubble fights, just Newcastle wall fights.
It's going to be fun. We're entering interesting times.
I will say for the character meta too, if you're a double M&K team, like Newcastle Bangalore might be the most M&K friendly meta there could be for you, at least. Like I don't think Newcastle
Pathfinder you get a controller Pathfinder in there. I mean, Furia, come on.
Yeah.
Talk to him, Jay.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think the Newcastle is like fully taken over where it's like heavy usage, but we're seeing it played. So if you're a double M&K roster, why would you not run that? Get like double Mastiff, like you said, get your controller Pathfinder and just start going nuts. Like, I don't know.
Vaxlon might be one of the only people that has experience like playing, because like 100 Thieves used to play Newcastle a little bit. I just don't know if it was Vax, but he might be probably one of the only pros in pro like this entire tournament that has a little bit of experience playing Newcastle in a LAN.
I can't remember who played Newcastle.
I don't know
for
if it
them
was
on that
Scurry
trio.
or if it was him.
I believe, yeah, Scurry is the Newcastle, and he's currently on the sidelines right now.
True.
Like, we are entering a Newcastle meta, and the one player who's played Newcastle at LAN is currently squadless. And if we actually see Newcastle being as good as he is, you can make a really good argument that, like, instantly Scully, and then I would say instantly Taxi 2G might become one of the highest value free agents. Because if we're talking about like MNK players who can utilize Newcastle at like a high level, I am sorry, like a incredibly talented MNK player is going to be able to provide more to a team on Newcastle than like Funk is going to be able to, than Shuby is going to be able to. Like, even
Falcons
if
had
they're
Hal
able
on
to
Newcastle.
play, yeah, or Hal's going to be able to, like, any, like, it's just not like at this point, if Hal's going to be on Newcastle, homie should be on MNK. Because, like, Newcastle, as someone who, like, it's playable and it's doable. And, like, yes, you can make good, like, plays and you can still be a good Newcastle on roller. But, like, the skill expression and the skill ceiling on that character on MNK is absurd.
And so going back to the TSM thing, I mean, all I'm saying is I thought it was a little ridiculous that they were already like not considering MNK players, specifically dropped, because if you wanted an IGL, obviously design's great, but so is dropped. Like, those are the top two options that were out there. So if you're not going to go with design, or he doesn't want to go with you, I think drop should have been in consideration at the time. And so, and I think even in your interview with Verhulst, I think he said they would have considered Strafing Flame. Like, if they were going to go double MNK, Strafing Flame is the kind of player that they would have done it for. And he's consistently produced LAN results. Like, he's always on match point. He's always right there with a chance to win. So if the, like, I don't see why, with the changes that have happened to the meta in terms of the Newcastle Bangalore stuff, with the aim assist nerf, and then even with the fact that if you were that committed to double roller and it hasn't worked, why not open it up and just try to go more for the fit than the input at that point?
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And like, they did get the input this time, and it just felt like they never truly had a firm grasp or foothold in what they were trying to do. It always felt like it was one step forward, two steps back the entire time, because we'd have a good day of Zap and Verhulst is out there just frying, doing his thing. You've got Reps being the anchor like he always has been. And then it would just, the next time you saw them perform, you're like, who the fuck is this? Like what is happening here? So it just never felt like we got it. And Zap's a great player. It just may not be a great fit at this time for those other two guys.
I will say too, we've been having this discussion under the assumption that Zap would be the one dropped because Verhulst and Reps have been together for so long. But I don't actually know if that's what would happen. Like, I'm not saying I have any inside info or anything, but like, I think there's just as much a chance that literally anybody could be the one on the outs, whether that's, you know, people have been saying that Reps wants to retire for years. I have no clue if that's even true, or if that's just a fan speculated rumor, because they said when Hal was gone, he was going to retire. That didn't happen. But like, what if they get rid of Reps? Then you don't have the double MNK problem. If they get rid of Verhulst, then, you know, that opens up a difference in like, okay, is Zap still IGLing? Like, there's just a lot of other, it depends on who they drop is basically what I'm saying. Because it's not necessarily guaranteed who it would be if they were to make a roster change.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the other regions. We've talked a lot about NA here.
Do you want to talk about SSG real fast? Because you've asked me about them at Fnatic.
We might be able to table that because I'm going to change it from SSG to more just like, you are the president of the Phony fan club. Do you want to visit it right now? Do you want to talk about it right now?
Unless you have it teed up for later, we can talk about it later. I do want to address SSG, because I will say I was one of the people that called them a super team. I'll own up to this.
Yes.
That's why I've clearly been proven wrong. So whenever we get there, I'll address my thoughts.
I want to hold off on it just for now, because we are like 40 minutes deep, and I want to make sure the other regions get highlighted as well. But we will bring it back up.
Okay.
Going
I mean,
to those,
we have openly been a very NA biased podcast.
We're
and
so
I don't
fucking
see
fuck
any
Alliance.
Reason, I don't see any reason why we need
Screw
to
rejects!
stop now.
CB556 says that we don't ever talk about Alliance.
we never talk about them.
We never talked about Alliance.
Yeah, no, but I do want to go to some of these other regions because we do have a lot of really good teams and different. I mean, me and you were both on the Jayhawk. Me and you were both on the watch party with I and B-Rad watching a lot of the APAC South teams. Those teams did. Some of those teams did actually have a good time at EWC. But just going over and looking through all of the other regions and some of these teams that stand out to you, what are some names that pop out other than the obvious being like Alliance, who just won?
I know that you'd mentioned Fnatic as a disappointment for EWC. I was very disappointed in Fnatic. I have been talking about Fnatic, and I even got interviewed literally the day of the finals for, I don't, Jumbo, do you remember what it was? It was like that other channel they had going for EWC.
Oh, were you on like that's just the main EWC channel with
Yeah.
Quickshot?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, I didn't get interviewed by him.
Oh,
I got
okay.
interviewed by Elfish guy.
Oh,
They
Elfish,
like literally
Elfish was there. Yeah.
came up to like the green room and we went to like one of the other ones, and it was like a quick 3-minute interview on 3 teams that I think besides Falcons could do well today. Fnatic was one of the teams I mentioned because I have been a very firm believer that this Fnatic roster, if there was like an APAC North super team, this is kind of it. Like they're really damn good. They got third in LA, so they were dominant there, and that was while playing Aurora's play style, which is like the negative rotates, playing the lifeline, being super chaotic.
And they had first in that winner bracket too.
Yeah, and they got
they
first in
really
that winner's bracket,
and they were like top 5 groups. Like they played really good.
They were dominating that, and then they've crushed it in Pro League. Literally, Glitter brought this up on the EWC broadcast. Fnatic, I don't think, has lost a APAC North Pro League in like 5 straight Pro Leagues. Like they have, it's been like, it was 2022 the last time they weren't the champion of APAC North. So, and that's all UKF, which I will say, I know that a lot of people love Roz and Selly and respect to those GOATs, but I am very much a believer that the greatest player APAC North has ever produced is UKF, because that whole reign of Fnatic, UKF has been the guy on that roster. So, I was disappointed with their EWC performance. I'm not fully holding it against them. Here's my logic. They weren't great in it. It was a little bit of a different system because I don't think that Fnatic is the type of team that wants to contest for POIs. They did get their down beast, and I think they landed Overlook, which they had done that historically. But I've talked to different coaches about Fnatic at Overlook, and they've kind of been confused as to why they pick Overlook because they don't think it suits their play style, despite the fact that they really like it. So I think that the draft system might benefit them a little bit more because if they ball out during the bracket stage, then going into the finals, they can get some really strong POIs, specifically on World's Edge, because Down Beast is not like super sought after in terms of the overall draft. So I think it could be there in the second round for them. To where like Fnatic just historically has not been a team that wants to contest. Like they understand they want to play the game. So I think that in the draft, depending on how they do during the bracket stage, I think they could get better POIs than they had at EWC. So that could be a change. I also think that with the crypto meta, if there's any team that is actually primed to do really well during it, UKF played crypto a lot back in the day. I think even during Split 2 playoffs of last year, they were still running him on the crypto. So, and he was like the one player that was actually fun to watch on crypto. No offense to like Kashera and Arcan and all those boys, but he like has, crazy movement. So his crypto is actually a joy to watch. So there's that. So I think they can do really well in this meta. And then also Laika, Satsuki, say you pronounce it. They both played on North Eption, where they played Newcastle. So they've got experience there. Now, it was Tida who played Newcastle for them. But I just think there's a lot of factors that at this LAN, we could see them do better than the previous LAN. So I still view Fnatic as like, if there's any team from APAC North that is going to win, it would be them. And I still think they're capable of winning, despite the fact that they had a bad EWC. Apart from them, other global teams, obviously Legends, Strafing Flame, Easy Flash, Player K. I don't need to go on a long like spiel about those boys. Everybody knows how good they are. They did really good at EWC. I don't know what their overall placement was, but half the lobby
tied for
hit.
8th.
Yeah, half the lobby hit match point. They hit it, so they had a chance to win. I think it took them a little bit to actually get there because I remember during the first half of games, I was actually like, okay, like
they started off really bad.
They're not doing great.
It wasn't until like the last 3 games that they kind of came back.
Yeah.
But they did. They won a game in that final that many other teams didn't.
Yeah, and then during LA they did really well. During champs, obviously when they were Blackhand, that was when they had their kind of show out performance. So this is 3 lands in a row that they've been pretty good and have reached match point and had a chance to win it. So I think that they're a team that absolutely has to be mentioned. One that I know that you've kind of been hyping up, and I bring this team up because, and by you I mean Wyatt.
Yes, please say it.
I bring this team up because I don't think that everybody's actually familiar with their game. I understand why. Go ahead. I have a story about him. Go ahead.
ExoClan?
No.
Fuck.
What? Not at all. ExoClan.
I did not think you were going to say ExoClan.
Guild.
Guild.
Yeah, like
yes. Okay.
I did not think you were going to say ExoClan. Sorry. Like,
I didn't. Why
I hyped up ExoClan so hard on the EWC ones.
Which shout out ExoClan.
Shout out
listening, but I just
didn't you like pick Guild to win or something like that?
I picked Guild to win in the losers round where you had to get the top 2, and I picked them 1, and they got 1, and they had the craziest day.
Yeah.
So Guild was the second one I was going to say.
That's where I was going with it. The reason I bring them up is because, I'm not. Here's the thing. I did not take the bet. There was a bet on the table that I could have put my money where my mouth is, and I did not do it. But me and Glitter, the moment that we did our pregame show for that very losers bracket, we're looking at the map behind us. The cameras are off. We're all good. We're looking at the map behind us. It's showing all the drop spots. And she starts naming teams she thinks are capable of winning this lobby. She points at Guild and says no. And that was the only one where I was like, hold on. They can absolutely win this lobby. And she was like, oh, yeah, you want to bet? And I did not bet on it because I thought it was a little ridiculous because I wasn't saying they were going to win. I was saying they could win. But clearly I should have bet because they did win that lobby. And they did make match point in the finals, and they had a chance to win. And at Split 1 playoffs, they did really good too. But here's the reason I think people should be talking about this team. The first time I ever like really knew anything about this team was Jumba when we did our tier list stream. I remember we did. What was their team name?
I don't remember what their team name was. We were talking about them, and
we didn't put any respect on them.
Yeah, and then like Zero or someone in chat started going, "You don't know like who Legacy is or something like that." Like Legacy's next up is what they told us.
Yeah, and then Jumba tells me that he had watched. Was it the Moist /DZ like tag team tier list where all the Australian boys did a tier list?
Yeah,
and they had put that team as like a finals team. Mm-hmm. And we had put them because it was Legacy and Jesco and Bugie. Bugie's the only one with LAN experience. He was on Blackhand when they got like 19th.
I'll figure out their name. They're Serenity.
Yeah, Serenity. Legacy and Jesco had never been to LAN, and we don't know anything about them. So we're like, 2 guys never been to LAN. Bugie's only been once. He's like first time IGL. We'll put him as like a 31st through 40th place team, like one of the bottom 10. We don't think they're going to do great. Zero comes in chat. He's disputing this. They had put them as a finals team in their tier list. Lo and behold, we get to LA and they place like 10th, I think. First off, everybody talks about Reject Fnatic top 2 in that winner's bracket. Guess who number 3 was? It was Serenity. They were above Dark Zero in that winner's bracket lobby. So Serenity had shown up in key moments. They did really good in the winner's bracket. They placed top 10 overall at the LAN, I'm pretty sure. Then they dropped Bugie, MT, the former Moist IGL, the guy who just placed 5th in LA. He joins the team, one of the most established and historical APAC South IGLs in the history of the game. Like, go watch Jumba's Zero video. This guy played with Zero and Jen Burton and all those guys, like Waltzy, all of them back in the day. They were in a friend group. Jumba's talked about it many times before, about how that like group of Australian guys were so tight. He's one of them. All of them have gone on to become some of the best players in the game. He was with Moist, leaves the team when they add Timmy. I don't know why. I don't know if it was homesick or what it was. I don't think he's publicly acknowledged why. But he said he just didn't really want to play the game anymore. He moves back to Australia. He's back. He's ready to play. Joins Guild for EWC. They win that LCQ bracket. They place 8th in the overall finals. And Legacy like Jumba said, Zero was talking about Legacy. Apparently, people are saying this is like MNK Jesus in APAC South. Like everybody knows about Easy Flash. They're saying Legacy is of that caliber. He's the Australian Easy Flash. So they're a really good team. And I do think that in terms of teams that are capable of maybe challenging for the title, I'm not saying they're of the level of Legends or Fnatic or some of these other rosters yet, because they haven't had that kind of a performance yet. But MT himself has with Moist. He's had multiple top 10 placements, and you add in those young gunners of Legacy and Jesco, I do think that they deserve some respect and a shout out, because I think it's only a matter of time if this trio sticks together that they have a potential huge performance.
I like that. I like to hear that. Why were you guys so like when I said ExoClan?
No,
Is
no,
it
I
that
wasn't.
crazy?
ExoClan's,
I wasn't.
No. Yeah, ExoClan's great. I know.
thought it
My
was-
reaction
I
sounded
don't
bad.
know.
I want to make
don't
it
know.
clear. ExoClan they showed out great. Swinny, no stranger to the international stage. They could do it. It was
Championship
I haven't
celebration
heard you,
they had.
Yeah, no. Like I like the ExoClan guys. I have heard you talk about ExoClan once and like never again. Like so that's why I did not.
I
expect
didn't even
ExoClan.
listen to the EWC episodes, so
I
I didn't even
talked
know
about
you've
them
ever
so
talked about
much.
ExoClan.
I talked about them so
Okay.
much.
I was so locked in because I saw you tweet about Guild, so
yeah,
I was
I
like,
did tweet about.
I was
Yeah,
like,
you-
we're
I
on the
tried to
same
frame it,
page. He's
yeah.
gonna say Guild.
You
And
also
then when you
text
didn't,
me,
I was like, what are you saying?
and you DM me like freaking out about Guild, but like
Yeah.
you picked them to win.
Yeah,
Well-
and I think Jump and I talked about that at EWC, so I was like, Wyatt knows I'm gonna say Guild here.
It's
And then you
crazy. It's crazy that Guild ended up doing as well as they did, because okay, when we were doing the IMB Rad stream, I locked onto them just because I thought their logo was sick, and then they were doing well at the same time. So my brain was like, "Oh, cool logo. They're doing good. Awesome." And then when it showed up when we were at EWC, I saw their logo. I was like, these guys are gonna fucking get first place, and that's exactly what happened. It was all based upon the logo.
On the
I didn't
logo.
know. I didn't even know any of the players on the team. You said that, like, you had, who was it?
MT.
You had Bugie.
Just
Yeah, Bugie,
the previous
Jesco.
roster was
No,
Oh,
just
previous last year.
previous, yeah.
Jesco, Legacy, Bugie. They dropped Bugie. They pick up MT.
And you said Legacy is like the Aussie.
Legacy's the MNK Jesus.
He's
Yeah,
like Easy
it's-
Flash.
And
Should we call him Aussie
yeah,
Flash?
the Aussie Flash. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to give a little bit of time for Jumba to talk about his favorite team from another region, because he's talked so much good about them. Navi, he's a huge fan. He just loves the roster. He loves the team. Jumba, would you like to go ahead and talk a little bit about Navi, one of your favorite teams?
Bro, did
Maybe
they
your
qualify
favorite
for
team?
this land? I didn't even
They did. Yeah. Remember, they got second in Pro League.
I was
Sorry, fourth. They
Yeah,
got fourth in Pro League.
There you go, fourth.
I mean,
I
you
don't
won't
know.
shut up about
What do
it.
you want me to say? Like,
No, I mean, you
I
just
think
talk
that
about
they're
them
getting.
all the time.
I'll give them losers bracket round 2. Dude, that's not even bad. They haven't made a finals. Me and Jay
They've
talked about this
never
at
made
our
a
last
finals.
thing. And
They've
like,
never
I'm
made
not,
a
I don't want
finals.
to. I'll try to like remove the veil and like not hate on Navi, but they haven't made a finals. See, like me and Jay did that tier list stream last time, and like Jay immediately said like no, and like the chat was like kind of like fighting with him, and at first I didn't know where to place myself, but I went along with it. I was like, yeah, you know what? They haven't made a finals. You're right. So let's fucking go and see. And then they didn't make finals. It split
They
one.
always
Yeah.
place top 4 in Pro League. Always. Which they did again this split. And then they just don't do anything on LAN. So it's like, how am I supposed to sit here and say they will ever make a finals lobby
Listen.
until they prove they can?
I'll flat out say it. In LA, there wasn't a lot of pros sitting in the stands. They had a players lounge where they stayed at the whole time, because if they went to the stands, a lot of fans would like be attracted to them. In Saudi Arabia, the pros that weren't playing, the only place that they could sit at in was the stands. And every time Navi was playing and I was in those stands, all I heard talking around me were pros going, "I think Matafi's cheating." I'll say it. I'll fucking
Okay.
flat out say it.
I was
They
gonna-
say
I was
that.
gonna- I
They
was gonna
go,
get
and
into this.
I hear them
I was
all
gonna
go.
get into this.
They go,
I was
I
gonna- I was
think he's
debating it.
cheating on. Like, I'm not gonna name pros, but I heard it all around me, and they're going, I think he's cheating on online, and they would go like, and they would name moments where they're like, I'll see him literally pop an evac, fly on the evac, look to his right monitor, and then turn away from where he pinged. And like, I haven't seen the clip. And yeah, maybe I'm outing a lot of pros, but I think they've said this publicly too. Like, they're saying it in the stands. They'd say it on stream. I don't think it's a hidden thing that a lot of these guys think that he's cheating. There you go. Go,
Yeah,
Ewok.
I don't think it's something that's been like super public, but yeah, I've heard. I heard from a buddy and he was talking about it. And yeah, apparently there's a bunch of pros out there that are all fairly convinced that he
Matafe specifically.
Yeah,
this
that
is
Matafe.
Not about Kinda or Henchman. This is about Matafe
Yeah.
specifically.
That Matafe specifically. There are a lot of pro players that are alleging that he has like zone cheats on his other monitor that then he will then use in order to like get his teams into the right spots. And I would say that as somebody who hasn't seen the clips, hasn't looked into the situation at all, someone who's just not really too involved and with it, it adds up that he's cheating. Because like you look at a team that like consistently can't not place top 5 in EU Pro League, but then isn't able to make a single finals. That is the type of like performance difference that you would look for in terms of finding out what like whether or not somebody's sus or not. Because there was a lot of people who had the same. There were people like Tech was openly accusing Skittles of doing that very same thing on Twitter leading up to the LAN. And then what did Tech do? He walked his ass back and said, "I'm sorry," when Optic absolutely popped off and showed out at LAN.
They prove it on LAN.
Because they prove it on LAN. You look at Matafe, and this kid just shits bricks on LAN.
Here's what I'll say too. Just I don't mean to rail on the guy, but his overall Pro League placements, he's placed second, third, fourth. 5 times in EMEA has he placed top 4. He's not won Pro League, but second, third, fourth. Those are incredible placements. That's up there with Nasky's teams, with Alliance. Like that's the top dogs of EMEA, okay? And Aurora and all those guys. The difference is Nasky, Alliance, Aurora. Alliance won a LAN. Aurora just placed 6th at EWC, 7th at Split 1 playoffs. They've had the hop-off performances. Nasky's placed top 10 multiple times. Like those guys have all proved it, right? They've proven on LAN. They can transition it there. Matafe's LAN placements, 23rd, 30th, 31st, 40th. He's never made a finals lobby. Only once has he made losers round 2. The
40th?
other 3 times, 40th.
Yeah,
he got dead last. And that was with, for the record, that was with Unlucky, who just won a LAN with Alliance, and Tyler, who, is a really good controller player in EMEA in his own right. So he has never made a LAN finals lobby. And I normally don't like to get in. I'm not saying he's cheating or not, but I will say I normally don't like the whole accusations. But the Aurora players, a lot of Russian players, really hate Matafe. And the reason they have beef with him is because he accused them of cheating for years to try to get them banned from tournaments and third-party stuff that was happening years ago. So he's accused many people of cheating who have then proven it on LAN. He has not, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I want to agree with Enoch's
40th.
Yeah, 40th. I want to agree with Enoch's point about the sense that I also have I don't even watch their gameplay very close in Pro League, and I haven't on LAN or anything like that. So I am kind of being a part of the echo chamber here, bringing this conversation up. But it just seems weird that they can't figure it out. And as competitive as that final lobby was, well, they were in the tougher lobby of the 2 days, but a lot of people have, kind of even said that they thought EWC was a weaker LAN. There's a lot of teams that aren't at EWC, or that aren't at this upcoming LAN, didn't qualify for it, but we're at EWC, and it was another one where they couldn't figure it out. Now, maybe you want to chalk it up to it's a rough thing, but still, then you got the 40th, you got the other 30th, and then you got the losers round 2. It's just, I don't know. It just seems weird that you can't figure it out at least once out of.
Yeah, no, the
minutes.
fact that you can't they at least once thing. If they had made finals at once and then even had a bad finals performance, you could say okay, well at least they made it to there's a lot of teams that have never made it to a finals lobby.
And people dog on South American teams. But
I don't think that there's a single team that when you look at their performance in Pro League, there's not a single team that has anywhere close to similar Pro League results, that has anywhere to near close the results that they have. And that would make, and it being a thing such as zones would be something that isn't super obvious, but is enough information that would allow you, like, if you have that zone knowledge, you should like beat everybody. Like the fact that like they're only placing top 5 with having advanced zone knowledge, allegedly, like it all adds up.
What was their placements again, Jay? What was their total placements?
In Pro League, he's placed second, third, and fourth. So 5 different top 4 finishes in EMEA Pro League. And then on LAN, this is LA, EWC, and then last year Split 1 and Split 2 playoffs, both in London. 23rd in LA, that's his best performance ever, 23rd. 30th at EWC, 31st in the first London LAN, and 40th in the second London LAN. So only once has he made it past losers round 1. Only once. EWC, there technically wasn't a losers round 1, but he got 30th. So they were in the LCQ.
Bottom 10.
Like LCQ,
Well,
that was a tough
bottom
format.
11.
That was a tough format, but you think for a team that's like constantly at the top of EMEA Pro League, like at least would be fighting for the qualification spot. And I think that's where like my anger came out of, like when I was talking about them, which I will say, we talked about this before we started the pod. I'll walk back what I said, like some of the things I said that day about I didn't like the way Navi played. I've reviewed EWC now, and they played that final game correctly. That they did the things they should have, and TSM didn't play the way that they maybe should have in that last game. Verhulst messes up, so I'll give Navi some flowers here that they did the correct thing. I think my anger in the moment came from not fully being able to. There's a lot going on. It's hard to follow it all, even when you're at LAN. And the fact they were 40 points away from even being in a qualification position. There's like 30, but they would have needed 40 points to qualify. But, you know,
unrelated to that specific game.
Yeah.
Unrelated to that specific game, though, I will say with those Pro League placements, all they had to do was get top 9 in their group lobby. And I know that's easier said than done. But like in terms of straight shot to the finals, this was both the most brutal method to get there and also the easiest, because the other LANs, you have to be consistent across 3 group stage sets, and you have to place top 20 to get to the winner's bracket. Then you have to place top 10 in the winner's bracket to go to the finals. This one, just top 9 in one set of 10 games. And they weren't able to do that, despite the fact, and I bring this up because so many people in the past have used the argument, well, EMEA is kind of a garbage region. 7 of the EMEA 9 teams that were at EWC, or maybe it was 6 of the 8. Jumbo, how many were there? Was it 8?
Sorry, what?
Of EMEA teams at EWC?
7.
Was it 8?
So
there was
right
9.
there.
There was 9.
There was 9.
And
7 of
7
them went through groups. Yeah, 7 of them in their groups made it to the finals. This is including a roster in DMS. DMS placed 5th overall. DMS is a roster in EMEA that is regarded as a challenger circuit level roster who added Taskmaster. And they went through groups to the finals and then placed 5th in the finals.
Yeah.
This was the best LAN EMEA has ever had. And yet still Matafe was on the outside.
There was a 3-way tie for 9th or 8th. 8th, 9th, and 10th were 49 points in that group stage, Group B.
Yeah.
Navi was Navi, TSM, and then one other team. And Navi died at 19th in the final game.
Yeah,
4 of the top 6 teams at EWC were EMEA rosters.
Yeah,
4 of the top 6.
They were also in what you could consider the easier group, or at least easier to get to the top 9, because Falcons wasn't in that group.
No. That was a harder group. I will say Group B was harder.
You think
way harder.
Because the other group, Falcons and Twisted Minds were winning so much that all the other teams, like, you didn't really have to win. In the Alliance group, there was like 8 or 9 teams that won a game.
Yeah.
So it was much harder.
No repeat winners in that
winners.
Group. And then the final, like, as much as I'm saying they were tied for 8th, 9th, the final game, anyone from 5th down was not safe in that lobby.
Yeah.
Like it was literally like a 8-point gap from 5th to 9th. Like that group was the
other
harder.
group was Falcons, Twisted Minds, Liquid. Those 3 were sucking up so many points at the top that it wasn't as competitive for the teams kind of below them, to where in the other group, the Alliance group, it was a lot harder because the points were a lot more evenly distributed throughout.
Yeah, no, you would see Falcons and you would immediately think that, but like the thing is this group had like some crazy teams in it.
It's actually much better to be in the Falcons lobby where they suck up all the points, because then you don't have to like win a game to be considered in the top 8, where in the other lobby you do pretty much.
Hand up, that's on me. that hand
you're
up.
good,
I was just trying to add to this point, but
No, you're
when we
good,
get to
you're
the predictions, I'm calling the shot of all
Yeah,
shots.
we can
get
move on
there.
from
Okay,
hating on
I will say-
hating on Navi for
We're
like
getting there.
30 minutes.
To
All
move
right,
on
and
from
we're
Navi,
allegedly cheating.
Allegedly.
We're not gonna like hardcore say like.
for the
okay,
record, I don't actually know
Alleged.
who it is.
Connor
without a
makes the
shadow of a
title.
doubt.
Chumba says Navi is cheating. It's just my face with like a fan symbol or something like that. I don't know.
Real quick, I'm not going to go on a long spiel because I know I've done that for multiple teams, but I will say shout out to Gaming Gladiators for teams that we were talking about from other regions that could do good. Did really good at LA, surprised a lot of people, and then at EWC they placed 4th. They were in it to win it, like for most of that match point lobby. I can't remember when exactly they hit match point, but they had a really good set of games in the finals too. So shout out to Gaming
They won one of the
Gladiators.
first few games. Like they showed
had
out. And
they
then
had some chances at the end there too. Like they got to match point relatively early, and there
I think
was
it was
a
like
game,
7 or 8. Yeah,
Yeah,
they were there.
There was a game where I thought they were going to win it. It was when Team Liquid was on top of Barometer and they were down on the bottom, and I thought there was a chance.
It was the game DMS one. Yeah.
Yeah, because one of them had a Kraber, and I think he killed 2 of LG. Like just killed them both, like deleted them out of the game. And I was like, oh my God. But then they had 2 guys go down, and then DMS came in and cleaned it up. But I thought they had a chance there to win that thing. So yeah, Gaming Gladiators, another team to look at.
So yeah, just wanted to mention them as a team because you asked teams from other regions. They've looked really good, and they look like they've only been getting better. And shout out to my boy Lufka, who you might have beef with because he was on that Ascend team, but he's on this roster.
Wait, he's on the Gaming Gladiators?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't like them.
Okay,
40th.
that's crazy. Are you
40th.
kidding me?
No,
Ace
you're just a
Clan.
hater. That's some next level hater shit.
Yeah, Wyatt
40th.
likes to perpetuate the Jayhawk Furia hate, but this guy's got like he's been
yeah,
dogging
he's
on
the hater.
SSG.
I own up
went-
to my hate.
He went from being like a #1 SSG fan to like I don't know. I feel like he kind of doesn't
Should we
like
get
SSG
into it,
anymore.
Jay? Jay, you want
We can get into it
to
whenever.
get
I'm
into
ready.
SSG? You're wearing the
Ready to go.
jersey.
I don't think Jay's or Wyatt's even ever said anything about SSG. I'm just trying to Furia him the way he did
Well,
to Jay.
I was the the president of the Phony fan club. I loved having him on the show, and once again, I will say I would love having him back on the show. I'd love for him to talk about his perspective on some things, but I feel like
Should have him on. Would be a fire interview.
it would be a fire interview. All this time has passed.
Because the last time you had him on, this was before FaZe. This was before the snipe stuff. He's had a very storied career since then that I think would be a fire interview.
Yeah. We're also the same height, I think. We're pretty damn close. I saw
How
him
tall
at
are you?
LAN. 5 well, is it morning? Because
Sure,
sure.
Yeah, 5'8" in the morning.
No, okay,
Around
not
noon,
five-
I'm
stop
back to
lying.
5'6".
Let's
You're not
stop lying.
You're not 5'8".
In the morning, dude.
No,
How
not
tall are
in the
you really?
morning.
How are you
I
tall in
saw
the
you
afternoon?
morning.
In the afternoon, it's about 5'6".
Yeah, I think you're still taller than him.
Really?
I think
Yeah.
I think you go.
That's
for
I
not
it,
think
yeah.
he's like 5'4", 5'5". Not even
Okay.
kidding.
All right.
No disrespect.
No,
He's very
short king.
He's a
Short
short
king.
king.
Do you have a statement for SSG? What's going on right now? Because
All
we
right.
had people were referring to them as a super team, and
Yes.
things have not been going great.
Here's what I'll say about SSG. I also refer to them as a super team. And it was under the premise that Phony, one of the best IGLs in the world, adding in Zainu and Koifel, from a raw talent perspective, this is the team that's going to go toe-to-toe with Falcons. And they did for the first 3 weeks of Pro League. But they weren't able to keep up the consistency, and then they did not do good at EWC. Okay? Now, it's their first LAN as a full trio, so we'll cut them some slack. But I will say, Phony, Zainu, Frex also didn't do great in LA. They didn't have a stud performance there. And my previous feelings were Phony is one of those IGLs that in a match point lobby is going to be there at the end competing for the win. The last 2 events, that has not been the case. Okay. So I don't know the exact specifics on what SSG's problems are because we didn't have VODs from EWC of the team perspective. And I'm not really going to go look at before they had Koifel because I think in Apex, just adding one different player, it's a whole different roster. So I don't know what the issues are specifically, but I will say in terms of Phony specifically, and I say this because if I've gassed him up for so long, I have to be fair when it comes to critiquing him. When he is not IGLing his ass off and getting them into God spots, he does not offer a lot in fights. You can look at the stats. The damage differential between him and his teammates is always massive. He does not put out big numbers, and that's not his role. So I won't hold him to that, but it is a stark difference. Like I don't have the EWC stats pulled up in front of me, but from what I remember, Koifel and Zainu were putting out immense damage, and Phony was significantly far behind those two. And so he doesn't offer a lot in terms of the stats. Now, I'm not going to say that means he's bad in fights for the team, because I would have to actually go watch.
We're clipping that. Jayhawk says Phony can't fight in this game.
Well, hold on.
Dude needs to put down the sticks.
Let me finish. Let me finish. I'm not going to say he's bad in the fights for the team, because the raw stats don't actually necessarily mean you're doing bad, because it could be the role he's in, where it's like when you have Zainu and Koifel, obviously you're going to let them go do their thing. So I would have to actually watch their POV, which is why I'm very excited for Germany to watch their POV and see specifically how they are taking fights and what Phony is doing in fights. Because once again, if he's not getting them into God spot, at least statistically, it doesn't seem like he's contributing a whole lot to the team. And as the IGL, the placement points are kind of the thing that you're being held responsible for. And it seems like although they have the capability of winning a ton of fights, they're not just going out and slaying the lobby. So then Phony staple has kind of been getting his teams into great positions, and that's not happening either. So I don't know specifically what's wrong with SSG. They've made 2 coaching changes. They had Dan as their coach. In EWC, they picked up, I believe his name is Afro. Now, all of a sudden, they've dropped him. They have Don from Ninjas in Pajamas coming over temporarily just for this LAN. So I don't know what's going on in terms of the coaching stuff and Phony's relationship with the coaches. And I'll say this, I've heard rumblings. I don't know how true this is, but I've heard rumblings of people talking about potential roster changes. I don't know if that came from SSG themselves. I don't know if that came from potential IGLs licking their lips at the possibility of potentially being able to play with Zainu and Koifel, because as a roller duo, if you can't get Hal and Jen Burton, this is probably, in terms of just raw firepower, the thing you want in NA, because, obviously there's like unlucky and effect over in EMEA. So at least on a talent perspective. So I don't know. I don't know what specifically is going wrong with SSG, but I do think that in terms of pressure, outside of maybe Falcons, because obviously Falcons are being held to the standard of win or bust, I think in terms of pressure, there's probably the most pressure on SSG after Falcons, because once again, this is a team that people were calling a super team, myself included. They have not lived up to that standard, and not even close. In fact, they haven't even really looked like a serious, legit threat to win anything. So
it's all fair. I like that. We had to do it because we hyped up Phony so much, and not to say that he's not a great player. It's just it would be disingenuous if we just always hyped him up, but when things weren't going great, didn't really say anything. It just wouldn't be right.
For the record, I'm still a believer. I haven't fully given up hope. I do think EWC do bad. You go back to the drawing board. You've got a quick turnaround. Fix your issues. The talent is there. You've got the fraggers. You've got the firepower. Phony, you got to show up. You got to get your team in great positions. You got to start winning some games, because that's not what they've been doing. They've shown that they can pop off, like in that LCQ lobby. They got second, but that's an LCQ lobby. That who cares?
I wonder.
That's impressive in the moment, but then you got to show up in the finals.
I after you mentioned it, I am curious because when you get Zainu and Koi on your team, as an IGL, I wonder what role you're taking there. You're telling them just go do your thing, right? I did look at the damage dealt in the LCQ lobby. Zainu and Koi are number 1 and 2, with a difference of 100 damage, and then Koi is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, Phony's 16th from the bottom. How many players compete in lobby? 60. So he's in the bottom there. Not the
bottom
worst.
Half,
yeah, bottom half, not the worst. But then you look you got MT number 3 overall, Design 4 overall. You got other Reps is in the top 10. You got other MNK or IGL players up here. And I know Phony's not MNK. I'm just usually you'd expect Verhulst and then Zap to be ahead of Reps, for example, right? But instead Reps is up there. Now, there's so many different things can affect damage, right? Some people playing Fuse, all that. But still, just interesting to look at. If maybe it's that role thing like you're saying, I'd be curious to look at it now.
I will say for them, I do think that a potential crypto meta is maybe good for them because, like with crypto, the way that it just works is the two fraggers have to be so cohesive and in sync when taking fights, and they have to be able to somewhat 2v3 at least kind of in the beginning. And Koifel and Zainu clearly can do that. Like clearly they can do that. They have that level of talent that they can do that. So I am interested to see, does Phony maybe playing the crypto? I haven't actually watched them in scrim, so I don't know if he has been playing the crypto. But if him playing the crypto can maybe kind of help him get back into that, okay, let me get us into God spot kind of thing, and then let my fraggers go crazy with my information that I'm able to kind of feed them, and then I come into the fight late. I'm hopeful that that can be the case. Because like I said, in a crypto meta, I do think there's a lot more pressure put on your two non-crypto players to kind of make things happen when initiating in fights off the crypto ult. So we'll see what happens. But I do think this team has probably the most pressure out of any team, like I said, besides Falcons, even from just the case of if they do bad, I think once again, like DSM, somebody's gone. I don't know who it would be. I don't know if it's Phony, but if another IGL is, behind the scenes, like, yo, Phony, like Koifel and Zainu, all I'm saying, like, if somebody kind of starts talking,
and there's definitely people talking. And I don't know anything like really specific. I'm just saying, like, I'd assume that's probably happening the same way that, the same way it happened to Phony last time.
I mean, I'll say, even for example, we talked about Strafing Flame reaching out to a potential TSM. This guy played with Koifel at LA. He's got an established relationship with Koifel. If he's maybe eyeing a move to NA, does he maybe hit up Koifel? To say, like, well, once again, this is all pure speculation. I have no insider information on that happening. But if they do bad, it's a possibility that I'm wondering if does it happen.
I kind of like that point that you made, like teams that have the most pressure on them right now. You mentioned two right off the top. You said Falcons, you said Space Station. Are there any other teams based on their current situation that you're looking at? You're like, there is a ton of pressure on this team because if things don't go well, it could be the end for whatever that iteration of the roster is.
I mean, we talked about TSM as well. I'd put them in that kind of spot just because, yeah, like if they suck, then who knows what happens there. The tough part is it depends on like the team, because like for example, let's say like a team like LG, I think they're too new to have that sort of pressure. Like if they do bad, I still think they run it back for champs. Why would you not? You'd had a great EWC. So to where other teams are being held to a little bit of a higher standard, haven't had that kind of performance like LG just did. So I don't know if there's too many other teams that are kind of like in that spot. Another example of like a team that I don't think necessarily has that pressure, despite maybe should having it, is like Complexity, because I've heard this team openly talk about how they're not going to be teaming at the end of the year anyway. I think it's looking like Lou is going to be joining E8 for champs because E8 has a champ spot, assuming that it kind of shapes out like it did last year, where making the finals lobby is good enough to get you there to champs. So, and Complexity currently doesn't have a champ spot. So maybe that's pressure on Kimchi and Monsoon to perform really well because they want a champ spot. But then it's just weird because I don't think Lou has that same pressure. So I don't know. It's an interesting spot to be in. Maybe a dark horse pressure team here would be Cloud9. Because like if Cloud9 does bad in this LAN, I would not be shocked if they make a roster change.
Yeah.
They didn't qualify for EWC. They had an okay split, this split. Almost didn't make it. Clutch up, do end up making LAN. But then if you do bad, like they had a good split one playoffs, definitely better than expectations. But you can only ride off of that performance for so long, because then if you do bad at split 2 playoffs, I think going to champs, they would absolutely be a team looking to make a change.
Yeah, the thing, what I've noticed with Cloud9 is it really rides on, there's a few things it rides on. I guess the one that stands out the most, though, is Saucer's confidence. I noticed a lot in this, in Pro League, there was a lot of lack of confidence there. And it also seems like with Cloud9, you never know who's going to have the day. Is it going to be chaotic? Is it going to be naughty? And that sucks because you really would hope that it's like, okay, we're getting them both at the same time. It just
Sure.
has never really felt like they've been on at the same time. It seems like one day chaotic will be the guy, the next day naughty will be the guy. If they can all sync up and add that with Saucer's confidence, they could be a dangerous team. But yes, I do agree with you because of their, I wouldn't even say it's bad performances. It's just kind of lackluster. It seems like they can put
They're
themselves in the correct
hit or
spot.
miss.
Yeah, but you don't get the finish that you're looking for. Cloud9 hasn't had that finish. And it's very similar to like what Disguised has kind of gone through recently. You know, it seemed like back in the early days of DSG, they were getting wins. And recently you haven't seen them win a game a whole lot of times. They can get deep into games and maybe they can pop off and get a lot of kills and get like 8th or something. Cloud9's kind of in that same spot, but they're not getting the same pop on the kill sheet, which is interesting with some of the firepower that they have. So I'm really interested to see, and I do agree with you on that. They are my team, and I love Cloud9 moving forward. But once again, when it gets to the rankings here, I have some surprises in there. But I
Real
do
quick
hope for the
question
best
for you
here.
guys on the pressure thing. How do we feel about Furia? Because they didn't make finals at Split and playoffs. If hypothetically they miss finals again, it feels like they would have to make a roster change. No, like the tough part is it feels like this roster has been so good recently. So like I'm not saying they're not going to do good, but I think because of them doing so good in scrims and the third party tourneys, it's almost like the expectations have been raised a little bit. Like people are now starting to talk about Furia, and rightfully so, because they're performing well right now as a team that could be a home run hitter in the finals lobby. Like this could be a really strong performance from them. If they don't have that, do they have that same kind of situation like Cloud9?
I would say no, just because of how well they've been doing in the Pro League. It is the last time they didn't make LAN, there was a roster change late. I think that can affect things, even though they did play earlier on with the swap. I don't know. Like, I think that leading into a LAN, it probably does affect a little bit. I would also say I feel fairly confident that they're going to do really, really well going into this LAN because their group, I would say, is not the strongest, and I think that does contribute.
Yeah,
but we're talking about pressure, so I'm,
Yeah, no, I do. I see what you're
because
saying.
I think like if you have that thought, if I'm one of the players on Furia, and the thought crosses my mind, if we miss finals, like, am I going to get dropped?
Mm-hmm.
That's pressure, to where, like I said, some of these other teams, I don't think that's really even a consideration. To where for Furia, just because they didn't make finals last lane, it might be. I don't think it'll happen. I think they run it back for champs regardless. But
well, if they miss finals, would they have enough points to get the champs? They might not.
Actually, no,
So,
they
like,
wouldn't even
that's-
probably go to champs.
That's my thing. Like if they miss it again, I think it happens just because
actually,
like we said, like, and we know, like, there will be like a extended period of break, and their break is going to be all the way till year 5. So I think you might just see a mix up because of the extended time period.
Actually, it's probably a mute point then, because if they make it to champs, you're not making a roster change.
No.
And if you don't make champs, well, if you don't make the finals, then you're not going to champs. So like you probably
have to, just purely based on the fact that there's going to be such a long break.
Such a long break, and it didn't work.
If they were secured, like, for a final, I'd still maybe say no, because they, like Wyatt was saying, they competed with Vax at LAN, and like there is some history of like Madness and Vax playing together, but they threw Vax into the mix like during scrims leading up to LAN. I think like we had, even when we talked to JMO, like he did it, like explained that kind of like threw it off a little bit, the swap from his Watts into Vax so short, so quick. So if like they somehow were secured, I would have said like, no, I think they'll still run it back at champs, but I think the extended break is what will affect that team.
I guess what I will say is, if they were to not be able to make it to a finals, it would be such a shame, because I feel like this team, all three together, is such a great team. And it sucks because they do kind of take a fall from that first LAN where they got together way later. And then the break in between, you kind of have to. And I'm like, you look at the players, like, would Keon not fit so well on a lot of these different rosters? I feel like he'd be like a really great free agent out there right now with his ability to play so many different legends. You talk about Madness, who's had some great times. Vax, who just came in here and just made this team look completely different. Yeah, dude, it sucks because you want to see them stay together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a long
But it's actually a great point that leads me into my next team that I think would have a lot of pressure. And so maybe the pressure for Furia actually isn't anything related to like a roster change. And it's more so we have to make finals to make champs. Like that's a pressure in itself. And speaking of that pressure, Bleed Esports, great team, dropped, knocked Shubi. You got Raven as your coach. They don't have playoff points from Split 1. So they can't afford a bad performance here if they want to go to champs. Obviously, you always have LCQ, so it's not like they're completely out of the running. And if they were to follow the LCQ lobby, they're probably the favorite to win it. But you don't want to have to go to that spot.
Especially because if they don't make it, like we talked about, like if Lou does end up competing with E8, like I don't know if they can switch 2 players. Like could they by champs? But if Lou does go, like Noct did, like they did so good at EWC, even though like they didn't keep the consistency going. At one point in that match point final, they were first. Like they were like top like 5 for quite a while. And Noct wanted to team with Zach before the whole like split 2. So who knows? Like if he's not going to champs and Zach wants him, why would he not go run it back?
I mean, yeah, and I think that's the thing. If they don't make champs, quite frankly, all 3 of them are probably looking for new teams. I don't think they would run it back because once again, of how long the break is going to be till year 5, it's just unrealistic to not just keep your options open. And with how roster mania is every offseason, and we're speculating about IGL spots opening up on TSM or Space Station or all these crazy teams, like Dropped might get offers, and then Shubi, he's a stud, so he's gonna it's just. Yeah.
That's another thing. Like we've already seen, like we didn't think Dropped and Noct were even going to team this split again, right? And then the E8 stuff happened, so Noct and him like went back together. But it's pretty clear that like they're not married to each other, right? Like it's not a situation like Reps and Verhulst where we just automatically assume they're going to stay together, even though like I do agree that could be up in the air. We don't know.
Yeah,
but it's like the
literally
public
just
perception
assumed they were staying together.
Exactly, the public perception is those guys are staying together. Like you're not thinking Dropped and Noct are married to being a duo.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting moving forward. Bleed Esports. You need them to get 5th, they'll get you 5th. You need them to get 1st, they'll get you 5th. That's Bleed Esports, baby.
Okay.
That's Bleed
Just
Esports,
to throw in
baby.
a few more names that are probably in that same spot where it's like they need the champ spot. NRG, exact same spot as Bleed.
Yeah.
Didn't go to split on playoffs. They have no points there. So if they want a champ spot, they got to perform. Navi, we went on our whole rant about them. They do have playoff points from last LAN, but like if you don't make finals, it's still probably unlikely that you're going to go. It's possible because J-Lings last year made it to both LANs, made it to both losers rounds too, did not make finals and got a champ spot. It's possible, but that was like literally the last spot available for champs. So the odds of that happening, you don't want to bank on being that team that doesn't make a finals lobby and you maybe get a champ spot. So NRG, they're another one of those teams, some teams from other regions that are kind of like that. Just some APAC, like pretty much all of APAC North, because outside of Fnatic, pretty much don't have champ spots already locked in. Except, did they keep the spot? It was, what was it? Who was the other APAC North team that got 20th at last LAN? With Mia K and
is that
Riddle? What were they last LAN?
Fennel?
No, they
not
they
Riddle.
weren't
I've been saying Northeption.
No, they weren't Northeption.
Here, let me see.
They were
Keenatrope.
Keenatrope, they were Keenatrope, and I can't remember what team they are
games.
now. Did they make this most recent LAN? I think they were. I don't think they did actually. So never mind. Forget about them. But once again, teams from other regions that are kind of in that spot. ExoClan, you mentioned, K-Swinny didn't make split on playoffs. He's in a similar situation. Got to make finals if you want to get that champ spot. Go next, Kashera. I know you have beef with him because of Ascend, but didn't make split on playoffs. He's in that same situation. So, yeah, Pioneers. There's a good amount of teams that coming into this LAN.
I think
their goal has to be finals.
How much pressure there just is when you're at a LAN.
Yeah.
That Keenatrope roster actually all shook up in general. Mia K is on a different team. One Tappy's on a different team, and I don't even know if is it pronounced Rufa?
Okay, so none of them kept the points.
Yeah.
Then, so yeah, disregard them, I guess.
Yeah.
Rufa
and One Tappy are on the same team. My bad. GHS.
They're on GHS Professional.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe there's a chance that they don't even have to probably make finals because they got that 20th. But if they do, that locks them in for champs. So there you go.
Pressure. The pressure is on. The pressure is there. And now, boys, the pressure is going to switch over to us because it's prediction time. It's time to predict who we think is going to be. I put down top 5. You guys could do top 3 if you want. And I also wrote down a dark horse.
Okay.
I have mine ready to go. If you guys have yours, you guys can go, or I can go first. My prediction is ready.
What are we saying the dark horse definition is?
Dark
Whatever you
horse,
want
A team to win
so
that's
dark
not
horse
expected to win?
would be a team that could win that's not expected to win. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. You guys want me to start?
Just because last time I was on here, I picked a team that I thought could maybe exceed expectations, but they were never going to win, and they did not win. They
Okay.
did not exceed expectations, for the record. So I was wrong regardless, but it made my pick look a lot worse when the expectation was team who could maybe win that's not expected to.
Yeah, I don't
So,
think your
to
dark horse
clarify.
could be any worse than mine when I picked the team that literally got 40th.
Yeah, that was
they got
pretty bad.
40th. Yeah,
That was
so
pretty
That was my
it's pretty
team,
bad.
bro. That was my
Yeah.
team. Disbanded.
Yeah.
Disbanded. First CLG, then 100 Thieves.
It's Jumbo's
Yep.
fault.
Jumbo's
Jumbo's
fault.
fault.
Jumbo's fault.
I didn't bring an Alliance jersey to LAN. Just want to let that. Just want to let
Thank
them know.
God.
I think that I should get a ring.
Yeah, you should. You should. Do you guys want me to go first?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to start off with my dark horse. It would be so stupid if I didn't throw them in here. Cloud9, I'm putting as my dark horse. Like I said,
Bold
it
take.
really all depends on the confidence. If Saucer has confidence, I feel confident. And then if they can find a way that Stay Naughty and that blanking on the name, Chaotic. I don't know why I was blanking on the name. If they can all find a way to be on the same page all at the same time, this team is a much different beast than what we saw inside of Pro League. And what we've seen is Naughty, when he is on a LAN, he can perform. So I know that Naughty can do that. Can the other two show up and be the people that they need to be going into this? I know they have the ability. I know they have the talent. They've done well in the past together. Can they do it again? Let's see if they can do it again. I have them as a dark horse. In 5th place, I've got Navi. Navi's going to show everybody up in this land. They're going to make
This is the hottest possible take you could have outside of maybe calling them to win.
Bro, he just talked about fucking 100 Thieves. The dark
Never
horse, like,
made a finals lobby,
Listen.
and bro's calling them to go top 5.
Listen, here they come. Okay, Matafe is going to shove it. He's going to go in.
If he does,
5th place.
the accusations are put to bed.
They're
He's
put to
gonna
bed.
to bed.
We're going to have to apologize on pod. We're going to
We're talking
literally
about
have to
pressure.
apologize.
Matafe's got pressure.
I don't know if he does. 'Cause
I
he
think
somehow
he's
No,
got
still
pressure.
keeps
he
making
does.
it.
I don't think
Yeah,
he cares
100%
about
has
the,
pressure.
I don't think he cares about the cheating thing, but everybody talks about how he's never made a finals. Like
That's true. Okay, yeah, that's fair.
People were
but yeah.
surprised Alliance crushed his ski at EWC, and I was like, unlucky he came from that team. And like everyone in EMEA just
Everyone in EMEA's got
just
beef with
trashes
Matafe,
them, so I was
apparently.
like, yeah.
Listen,
Anyways.
Matafe, hop on the pod. We'll talk it out. We'll figure it out. I got Navi
Go
going
invite him.
5th. I've got Navi going 5th.
We
In
need more
4th place.
EMEA representation on this podcast.
We do.
Time
See,
zones. It's
the
time zones.
Time
zones,
zones
man.
are
It's the
brutal.
time
They are
zones, man.
brutal.
We got a California working man.
Yep.
Find-
and that
find
means that
a-
time zones is just not it.
Hold
for
on,
the,
though.
for
Find
the
one of these
European.
EMEA DJs.
Hey.
I mean, who's streaming right now? There's
We're
got to be
gonna-
some EMEA pro that's live right now. There's not.
We're gonna have a
I
chance.
checked. There's not.
Not one. There's got.
There's
Hey.
some of them are awake though. I know you could get one of them that's probably up at like 5 a.m.
We're gonna have a chance because I still have my baby bonding time, and I'm taking 2 weeks off at the start of September. That's gonna be our time where we can try to get some EMEA interviews because I'll just be off for 2 straight weeks. So we have a chance. There's a very good chance we can get some. Speaking of Alliance, number 4, I got Alliance. I got Alliance at 4th. I think they follow up a LAN win with a very solid and
Reminder,
decent performance.
Effect will not be there.
Effect won't be there. Doesn't matter.
Does
4th
have visa
place.
issues. Okay. Just make sure.
3rd place, I got Furia. Furia, I think they're going to do really well. I think this is going to catapult them into champs. They should be at champs. I feel like they're one of the best teams in the world right now. I think they're going to place 3rd here. 2nd place, I got Team Liquid. I like the way Liquid performed at DWC. I think they had a few chances to win it. They probably should have won it on some of those. They weren't able to close the deal. I don't know if this is correct, but I'm pretty sure I felt like they were always in the final zone and
There
had
was
like 3 chances to
there
win.
was 3 tree zones, I think. There was 2 or 3 tree zones.
And there was some
also the
barometers.
barometer zone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the barometers.
The question was, when did they hit match point? That I don't know.
It might have been later. It might have been like game 11, maybe
I
game
think
10.
No,
they
they
hit
hit
it
it
pretty
They hit
early,
it pretty early
no?
because they won like game 5.
They won,
and
I'm
then
looking at
match
it now,
point
they won
was
game
hit-
4.
Or
and
okay,
they
game
placed
4, my bad.
4th with 7 KP in game 1. So they had 2 really good performances in the first 2 games or first 4 games,
Let's see.
and then had good KP
I
in
have
game
it somewhere.
5. I feel like they didn't hit it though in the first 6 because didn't no one hit it in the first 6?
No, it was
They
game
hit
7
it.
when it was hit.
It was
game
probably
7
yeah, it
when
was
it was
probably
Yep, they hit game 7.
7.
So
yeah.
I was just
They hit
straight
it-
up wrong.
So they
That's
were
sick.
first to hit it alongside Falcons and I believe Mizuchi.
And game 8 was the barometer zone, and
Yep.
then there was a tree zone. And
Yep.
then,
Barometer.
So I got
And
Liquid going
Siphons, but
second.
yeah.
And then my winner, I said I hate choosing this team because I always try to go off the board. But I said on the EWC wrap up podcast with Jumba, I said you have to bet the house on Falcons. I have to go Falcons. I said that this would be a team fully motivated with the best players on the planet to be able to win this. I hate this so much. I hope everybody understands I hate this shit because I always try to go off the board a little bit, but I just don't see Falcons not winning this thing. There's too much on the line. So I think Falcons, they win it. That is
Can I
my
say-
predictions.
This is a really bold top 5.
Why?
Hey, can you quickly just list them out one more time? I
No, can
wanna
we get a
write these
1
down.
through 5?
Yeah,
Yeah,
write
but-
it.
yeah,
Say it.
yeah.
Say it again. Say it again.
Just so I
Falcons.
can- okay.
Yeah.
Liquid,
Yeah.
Furia,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Alliance,
Sure.
Mhm.
Navi.
Right. Very bold.
And who was
What is
Dark
wrong
Horse?
with you?
Who's Dark
Cloud
That
Horse?
is the
Nine.
worst pick I've ever heard. No, you're trolling.
Okay.
Cloud9.
It's a very bold top 5.
No, you just you're tired, dude. Come on.
Well, it's just you got Cloud or Furia, who we haven't. The best placement on
I'm
land for
not-
Furia is Keon. Like a split one like last year when he was with Guard with RKN and Rambo and he got 3rd. Other than that, the other 2 guys. Well, actually, sorry, Vaxlon got 3rd once like years ago.
Yeah, you're
They're
being a
saying-
fool.
wait,
No, the
that
Furia
wasn't
take
land,
is fine.
though,
No, no, no.
for
The
Keon.
Navi take is
Guard got
literally you're
like
just
3rd or 4th
twisted.
at land.
Bro,
No,
Navi's,
they got like
Navi's showing
16.
us all up.
No, you're
Navi's
actually
showing-
just
They were like
hard
3rd in the
throwing. No, you're
winners
actually
bracket,
just trolling.
and then in the finals
Oh,
they
you
did
don't even-
terrible.
Navi's coming to play.
Like, you're
I remember
throwing that, you're
'cause-
throwing that pick
Yeah, you
away.
did
It's
it
not
for
even
Navi's
real.
coming to play.
Well, split one playoffs. They won a game in every single set until the finals. Like
If
the
you
guard
were
was
able to pay
killing
attention to
it,
both of these
and then sucked in
conversations at the same
finals.
time, that is
You're
next
so-
level
yeah,
from you.
you
Shout
have
out the
so-
listeners.
You
They
got
probably
like
did.
this nice little diagonal. At least on my screen, it's
Yeah.
diagonal.
Oh, me, it's
The
up and
listeners.
down.
Mine, it's side to side.
Yeah.
Here's why I'm going to say it's bold because you don't have legends, you don't have moist, you don't have fanatic, you don't have like a lot of heavy hitters
I'm not
in that
putting-
top 5.
I'm going off of what I just
and
watched.
the funny
which
thing
might
is,
be a
and the
terrible
funny
move.
thing is, this guy Flatto said, "I like to be off the board. I'm not gonna go off the board this time," and he just because he said Falcons.
Yeah,
the
and
only-
Falcons
no,
winning.
bold thing you
That's
could
the
have
most
done is,
important
Your
like,
pick.
not
fifth
put
place
Falcons.
pick is literally just you're like a throw
Navi's showing
away.
us all up. Navi, Navi
It's
is
the
back.
boldest possible pick you could have outside of saying Navi wins.
I might buy a
honestly.
jersey. I might buy a jersey.
You're
I might
not
wear it.
okay. Come on.
I might buy a jersey. I might buy a jersey, dude.
He's gonna do this just so everyone knows. Here's the thing. Here's the upsetting part about this is he's gonna do this, and when they do bad at LAN, because and this is just because they always miss finals. Wyatt's gonna go hate on them for the rest of their lives
No.
because he picked them to go top 5, just like he did Ascend. You picked Ascend, and then when they did bad in the finals, you got mad at them.
This is
You hold it
different,
against
though.
them forever.
This is
He
different.
When
still
it's your
likes. He
fault.
still kind of likes Riddle. He still kind of likes Riddle.
Bro, he tracks
Riddle. I
he
love
tracks
Riddle.
the players to hate.
Yeah, I think he's
He
doing
said,
this
"I
just
like
just
that
so
the
he
team,"
can hate on
found out
Navi.
Lufka was on it and then said, "I don't like that team."
Just that one team, though.
Lufka's my goat too. I love that guy for the record.
Do you remember who's on
40th.
Riddle?
One kill, huh?
Yeah, name me a player on Riddle.
Riddle. I think you guys should get on with your picks because
No, no, no,
we're
no,
at
no, no, no.
we're
We
at
got
Name
an
me
hour,
the
40.
player on Riddle. There's
One
one
team,
guy in Riddle
one guy.
who's been there for years. He's the guy for Riddle. Name
Well,
him.
yeah. I mean, it's
One
obvious
guy on
who it
Riddle
is.
that's
He's
not
googling
nice
it right
work.
now.
No, I'm not.
You're
not.
googling it right
It's
now. I can see with
obvious.
your eyes.
You
You're
know
like
the
moving
guy-
around.
It's
Hands up.
Yukio.
Hands up. Hands up.
Hands are up. You Googled it, didn't you? You just said his name and you Googled it.
Yukio.
Share your screen.
Nah, that's the man. That's the man that he did. Nah, there's definitely no way he said
people
Yukio.
Forget about Yukio, Saku,
you Googled
and
it.
Umi-chan.
Yeah, see, he's got it in front of him. He's got it in front of him.
People forget about those guys. They forget.
At EWC, they did unfortunately get eliminated as one of the first teams. Which one was Yukio in when they crushed the key?
Wait, what, like in the interview?
For the record, too, the roster you named is different than the EWC roster.
Is it? Oh yeah,
I knew that.
Name the guys again.
That's why
I
said the names to see if you guys knew that it was the roster that wasn't at
Name
EWC.
the roster you just said.
Obviously.
Jay, what's your top 5? Let's go to that right now.
No, I'm not guess. I'm the guest.
It was obviously.
We're just gonna keep pressing down. We're just gonna keep.
No, go ahead. Someone else go.
Foot on the neck. Just.
All right, who's next?
Want me to go? I got mine. I can go.
You got yours?
Yeah. I could go. Let me see this. Okay. Mine.
Just so we're all aware, I'm pretty sure Wyatt already had this pre-prepared, and we're all just winging it, right?
Yeah, no, he literally just said, "Oh, hey guys, by the way, we're gonna do top 5, top 3 if you want." I have mine pre-planned.
Yeah, I was able to.
And that's the list he came up with, ladies and gentlemen.
I feel
pre-planned Navi 5.
What is this, dude? Right now, like
they've never made the finals.
This is bullshit. I feel like,
and you picked him.
I feel like Matafe right now. Everybody's coming at me for no reason. What did I do?
Yeah, we gotta be careful.
Zones to LAN?
We gotta be careful because. God forbid Navi makes top 5.
If
we'll
they
never
do,
hear it again.
hold it against
us.
No,
if they do, hold it against me forever. I'm okay with that.
I don't want to because Wyatt's not using any freaking basis to put them up there.
No. Dude, you. Yeah, come on.
What, dude? It wasn't a bad list.
No, it was. I mean,
just to be clear, this is essentially, in terms of the level of egregiousness, basically the same as Finn saying NRG will not make Sunday.
This is way less than that.
Here's why it's just as bad, because Sweet always makes Sunday and Navi never makes Sunday.
Nah, it's definitely comparable.
You guys are haters. You guys,
you
guys are like just the reverse. You guys are the haters.
The question is,
how can I be a hater when it's just the facts? You've had 4 LANs and can't make a finals. Why would I ever believe in you until you do it?
You know, it's a tough game out there. There's so many good teams, and it's tough.
Yeah, I got my list. And just think about this question as I make the list. It's not about my list, but is it easier to qualify for finals or harder to, or easier to not qualify? I don't know if that makes sense. Anyways, my list.
That made nothing.
Yeah. Do you want me to go from? I'm not doing mine in any top 5 order though. I'll just go.
Well, you need to name a winner at the very least.
Okay,
you gotta name a winner.
Fucking. Yeah. Anyways, like, that's gonna be really difficult. Okay, let's go with Luminosity.
Okay.
Liquid. Now I will be honest. If Alliance had effect, I think I would have put Alliance instead of Liquid. But I'm putting Liquid in there because I haven't seen Alliance ever play with Tyler, and nothing against him. It's just like I don't know how that dynamic's gonna work. So like Liquid, Luminosity, Legends, Triple L, right there, and then Falcons. And my winner is Moist. I won't say Falcons. I'll say my winner is Moist. Oh, and then
you're all NA.
5 NA.
Legends. Legends.
It's happened before. Actually, you're right.
What's your dark horse?
Future NA leaks, Jumbo leaks, Legends to NA.
What?
Listen, okay.
Clip it.
I will say I tried really hard. I wanted to pick some more EMEA teams. Like I said, I would have had Alliance in there. I looked around. Like we talked about Guild being up there, but I just don't know yet for a top 5. I will say my dark horse. Give me the quick definition of dark horse again. It's like team you think you could win.
Team who could win, but is not expected to, is what Wyatt said.
I guess it's tough because this is more a team I think could do good, and maybe a lot of people aren't expecting. But sure, I'll give them the win too.
How about we refine it to not like just win, but like
top 5,
like the black hand run, where it's like people didn't see that coming. They place top 5. Oh my gosh!
I was thinking top 5. FaZe Clan. So there's my next non-NA team. I was thinking FaZe.
Interesting.
FaZe Clan.
Okay.
It's
an all right list.
A 2v3 FaZe Clan, and it was whatever.
Enoch, you ready to go?
Yeah, I can whip something up. It's basically going to be very similar to Jumbo's.
Not mine.
And yours.
No.
I'm quickly changing mine back to Falcons is going to win only because I want Moist to win. And anytime I say someone's going to win, they lose.
That's fair.
Now Falcons are gonna win.
No,
Moist is
in
gonna
my heart,
choke
I
so
know. I
bad.
don't know. The jinx always.
They're gonna have it
happens.
right there, and then they won't win, and then Falcons will, just to be like, well, Jumbo was right, but you're gonna feel so bad about it.
I don't know what to do, man. Whatever I say, I don't know what to do.
I'm gonna put Falcons. I kind of want to put them second.
You're not gonna put them
Simply-
as number 1 after fighting Jay for the super team.
Well, no, because the whole point, my whole
Yeah, it's
thesis
second.
was
It's
that they're still a super
still a
team,
super
even
team.
if they don't win.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah.
True.
So I think out of that, it's only fair of me to put them second, simply because I do think that, like, we've seen other regions are winning now, which means that we're due for an APAC South winner, and Legends is looking like it like there's never been an Apex Legends that's more primed for Legends to walk into this and absolutely have a day. And so I'm gonna put Legends Gaming as my number 1. I'll put Team Falcons as number 2 because that's a group of winners. And I think because I think Falcons lose this next one, and then I think they win 3 straight. That's how I think that goes. So that's my 1-2. I'm gonna go ahead and put Furia 3. That I think they're double M&K with Keon on roller. I think that, I mean, yeah, they haven't had the best, but I do think that was not a troll pick by Wyatt.
Yeah, not all his picks were troll.
Yeah, not all of them were terrible.
I just followed Matafi on
No.
Twitter.
And then I'm gonna go with Luminosity, and then I'll go not moist. And so, like, I'm definitely like extremely NA bias, and borderline same exact picks as Jumba, but I'll put as my dark horse Bleed. I think that they're gonna go from I think they're gonna get out of their rut, and I think they
Fifth
could
or
make a
sixth.
crazy
I
run.
like that. I like that. Real quick. Okay, so sorry. Falcons. You said Furia.
I said Legends, Falcons, Furia, Luminosity, not moist.
Not moist. Okay. I'm just writing them down, and then we'll
And then with Bleed as my
lead as
my dark horse.
you ripped.
And that's just like absolutely just no disrespect to Falcons. I think we're entering an MNK world, and I think Legends is just primed. And and storyline wise, I feel like APAC South is due. Like they've had the come up, and now it's just like, okay. But I mean, they already have won a land from that region, which we sometimes forget.
But I was actually thinking about
Rig
it.
did do it.
I was thinking about it earlier today. They have, like, the team who won then left, though. And in terms of regions winning, they're the oldest region now because EMEA just won, APAC North won, and then TSM won champs. So it's like they have the longest drought now of teams who, in terms of winning lands. So
I'm a storyline guy. What can I say?
yeah, there you go.
But if Falcons
Same.
wins, am I going to be surprised in the slightest? Absolutely not.
Nope.
Super team. I can't lose, really.
Neither can I. Jay,
No, you already lost. You lost the moment it exited your round.
I tweeted Matafe. I said, "Where can I get a Matafe jersey? Maybe he'll sign it. Maybe he'll sign it.
Really?
Put it,
Did you
put it in the
actually?
background. Put it in the
Follow that,
background.
if
of
you
the-
actually
of the
did,
pod.
follow that tweet up and say, come on my podcast.
People think you're cheating.
Yeah,
Don't
clear
say
the
that.
allegations.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Bro,
You can
if we
ask him
actually
that.
get Matafa on the pod, I'm
Ask him.
literally assemble. I'm gonna have somebody who actually is like in deep into the Matafe lore and find all of these screenshots of him looking over.
Well,
Be like,
if,
"So what's up
if
with
we do
these?"
have them on, like, I'll have to do my research.
So what's up with these, bro?
I will say, if you have him on, you got to ask him that. Like, you got to ask the hard-hitting questions.
I mean, that's what journalism is, baby.
pros are saying it. Would
Yeah.
you like to address the
Jay
allegations?
wants the answers without having to ask the questions. He wants
I
wants
just
us to
I
do it.
followed up
I
the
would
tweet
ask
and I said, "Hop on pod?" ? So the invitation has been sent.
He's probably boot camping right now, so he's
Jay.
not going to be available for a pod. But who knows? Make
Perfect
sure
excuse.
he knows future. Okay, my top 5. I'm ripping the Band-Aid off. Falcons are winning.
Bam!
On and
I
out.
know that's hard.
You're so
It is
brave
what
of
it
you.
is. I know it's brave, but I am very much a believer that the draft system is going to benefit them. They're going to come out
Fuck, I
and
forgot about
crush
the
it. get some really good POIs. I don't think they necessarily even need to get first, because as long as they get top 5 in that winners bracket, I think one of Sky West or Mill will be available to them. And if they don't get that, they're still, I mean, they're getting god tier POIs. So I'm taking Falcons to win. I think that, like I said, I think they understand the criticisms and the stuff of Alliance winning. And I think if there's any team that is motivated the most to win, it would be them, because they know what's at stake if they don't, even getting second. So we're going to say
Hal kind of powers up after getting second. I don't know. He says when he gets second, he's more driven to win, because it just, I don't know, it drives him. If he wins everything, he loses that passion. Also, to 100% win rate at split 2 playoffs. So
there you go.
All right, I'm walking back my pick.
I wanted to walk back my pick too. Yeah,
I'm flip-flopping. I'm taking Falcons first, Legends second.
I don't know what it was about Jay talking about it again. Maybe you realize
I'm inspired.
0 split 2 playoffs, 100% win rate.
Here's all I'm going to say.
Flip-flopping.
Back in the day, I used to always pick against TSM and DZ, okay? Except for split 1 playoffs of last year. I said TSM was going to win. They actually did. But at the time, it wasn't like, TSM hadn't won a LAN in 3 years, so it was a little different conversation. I used to always pick against them, and they would win. The last 2 LANs, I've picked DZ and Falcons to win, and they haven't. So I'm happy with new teams winning, is all I'm saying. So I'm picking Falcons to win. And if they win, I'm right.
I remember,
if they don't, I get the storyline.
I remember when we had first met Jay, you're like, I don't believe in jinxes. And it sounds like
I don't.
It sounds like you're talking about the fact that you think you jinxed Dark Zero at the last LAN.
I'm not saying it was my fault. It's definitely a skill issue. If you can't win, that's on you, big boy. But I picked him to win the last 2. First time I've ever picked him to win, and they couldn't do it. We'll see if they can do it this time.
Okay.
So I'm taking Falcons to win. In my top 5, I'm going Moist. I'm going Fnatic. Nobody else put Fnatic in there. I'm putting some respect on their name. I think they bounced back from EWC in a big way. I'm going... This is where things get tough, because I've got like 3 or 4 teams that I want to consider here.
It was tough for me to narrow mine down too. I will agree.
ExoClan.
No. Love K20, but no.
Passion UA.
I'll go Legends. Fnatic, Legends, Falcons. Who was the other team I said? Moist.
Yep.
And I'm going Bleed. I'm going to take Bleed top 5.
Bleed top
I'm
5.
going to say they do it.
Hey.
Wyatt always says if
You guys
need
Bleed
a
to get
team
5th,
go
they'll get 5th.
They'll get 5th or 6th. He says it every time.
You need Bleed to get first, they'll give you 5th.
We need your dark horse.
I need Bleed to get top 5. They get 5th. There you go. My dark horse to win, or well, I guess to pop off, and people maybe aren't expecting them to pop off. You know what? I still believe in them, and I personally don't think that this is a team that this really applies to. But I think that in terms of the general consensus thoughts on them right now, I'm taking Space Station Gaming.
Space Station
Wow.
Gaming
Space
as a
Station
dark
Gaming.
horse.
I was wrestling.
No, that's fair. No,
I was
I
wrestling
completely
putting
respect
them
that
in
team.
that 5.
I completely respect that as a dark horse pick, because like recently, like where they at?
Yeah,
That's
I
fair.
was wrestling to put them in that top 5. But I don't know. For some reason, my gut still has question marks. But in terms of the dark horse pick, that's where I'm going to put them.
To be fair, I think it's very fair that I would say that if all 3 of us, like if none of us put them in our top 5, that alone makes it so that they're eligible for a dark horse pick.
And I think the general consensus opinion would probably be the same.
That's a better dark horse pick than me, because I picked Bleed as my dark horse and Jay picked them 5.
I'm saying Bleed go top 5.
I'm more of a poser than he is, apparently.
No, I agree. I like that. Okay, let's quickly. I was gonna rip it from the top. Gonna run through everyone's again, just so like for the listeners, you have it right there and clean to listen to. Wyatt, Falcons, Liquid, Furia, Alliance, Na'Vi, Cloud9, Dark Horse.
Yep.
Falcons winner.
Falcons winner, yep.
Enoch said Falcons, Furia, Legends, Luminosity, not Moist.
No, Legends second.
I didn't. This wasn't order.
Okay.
I was just going Falcons, Furia, Legends, Luminosity, not Moist, Bleed, Dark Horse, and I was gonna say Enoch. Who did you want to put as like your official like winner?
Falcons. Falcons.
So wait, you're saying Falcons now, not Falcons second anymore.
I said I'm flipping
A
flopping.
second ago, you said second. This bro.
No, I said Legends for second.
Oh, Legends for second. Okay.
No, because
Okay.
when you were reading it off, you said Falcons, Furia,
Okay.
Legends, and I was like, whoa.
Okay.
No. But yeah, I'm saying Falcons. I originally said Legends, and then I was inspired by Jay, and then I decided to, and I was like, you know what? I'm not doing that.
Fair enough.
Falcons, Legends second.
Okay, fair enough. Jayhawk says Falcons win, definitive winner. Moist, Fnatic, Legends bleed, Dark Horse, Space Station Gaming, and then I had Falcons. Let's clean sweep it. Falcons winner, Legends, Liquid, Moist, Luminosity, FaZe Clan, Dark Horse. That rounds out everyone's a top 5. The Fnatic pick, if I had Fnatic right now, I'd put them as wild card because they went from not making a final to then making like top 3 to then struggling in finals. So Fnatic was a tough one for me. I was trying to fight with them putting in my top 5, like Jay said, but yeah, I kind of would have them as a wild card if this was a tier list.
Fnatic's tough for me because I will say prior to EWC, I had a conversation with Zephyr, and we were saying if there's any team that's not an NA team to win, who do you think it'd be? And I was saying Fnatic.
Yeah.
So like their EWC performance definitely like was a disappointment, but I'm not going to take one LAN and immediately be like they're trash. So if I was that high on them prior,
No,
That's
you're
what-
not
yeah,
the
same
you're not the
thing with
only
Navi
one
with me.
Yeah, good comms. You're not the only one that I think was saying that. Like everything I saw had Fnatic as like the next God Slayers and everything like
Yeah.
that. Let me quickly see. I was curious at Split 2 playoffs.
to be fair, all of last year was a different roster. It was UKF, but it's 2 different thirds or 2 different
Yeah,
teammates.
true. I just wanted to see. They still got like top 10, but
Meltstera and Umi Chen.
Okay, well, that should just about do it, ladies and gents. We've got all of our predictions in. Cannot wait for this next LAN, Mannheim, Germany. It is just a week away, and we will be getting into all of the action. Next week, we will probably do another pod series similar to the series that we did with Esports World Cup, going after each day. I can't promise that all the boys are going to be there, but we're going to try our best just because schedules sometimes don't line up as perfectly as they need to be. But we'll keep you updated as we go through. Ladies and gents, let's hit a quick ad, round out the show with the heart-to-heart, and then send you guys on the rest of your week. Let's get it. Okay. Ready for the heart-to-heart?
yeah.
I'm going straight zombies. on the heart-to-heart.
Someone
I'm
go
going
first.
straight
I'm not ready to go first this week.
Yeah. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right. Heart-to-heart time. Heart-to-heart time. I'll go first this week. Unless Enoch, do you want to go first?
Actually, I came up with mine. I can't go first.
Oh, you want to go first? You want to go first, Joe?
How
I
about you
could if
lock
I
it
need
down?
to. I could if I need to. I
He
thought
literally
of
just
mine.
said he didn't want to, but now he's got one. All right, go ahead.
They throw it on me to go first every week.
You just
And
handle it so well.
I do. Like I said, I didn't want to go, and then immediately I realized I could give the boys time to think. Just a family thing. I think that's kind of cool. My sister's getting married next week. She had to get married the same weekend as Apex LAN. I was trying to convince her to get married at LAN in Germany. Unfortunately, the venue was booked. She couldn't do that. But yeah, I don't know. I thought I was just wanted to share. It's like a big family moment. All I have is one sibling, an older sister, and just thankful for that, grateful for that. Like, family, like Wyatt was talking about it last week, and in a sense, it's like, just feeling really, really almost not, what would be the word? Honestly, all I can think of is gratitude in this moment. That like I get to experience that next week, celebrate my sister and her fiance, who, I mean, I've known the fucking guy since I was like 13. So, like, yeah, he's like basically like a brother to me already. So, yeah.
Nice. We love it. We love to
Short
hear
and
it.
sweet
We love
there.
to hear it. I'll go next. A lot of times my heart to heart is about family, about like,
It's always about
feeling
zombies.
grateful.
It's always about zombies.
This week is going to be about
That's
zombies.
funny.
Do you guys remember the throw?
Oh,
hey, Jay.
should we talk about it?
No,
Nah.
this pod it's like
Shameless plug. There might be another podcast you go listen to for that.
Yeah, we might. Pack-a-Pod might be happening. It might be happening. So we're excited for that. But we had another Easter egg run this week. Had to get a fill in. Jumba couldn't make it. Shout out Chris. Hopped on. We got in there. Things got hectic. Connor was there.
Connor was the fourth.
Oh, and then
Connor was the
Kyle.
fourth.
Okay.
There was
Kyle,
miscommunication.
Yeah, miscommunication. Kyle was actually very upset he wasn't there for that one, so we might have to run that one back. But it was a great Easter egg run. Der Eisendrock, we came in clutch. As everybody knows, when I stream, I don't change titles. I don't even look at chat. And I guess at some point Enoch did drop by the stream, and
Dude, I
we were
dropped
just not
by,
there.
and then you just 2 minutes later didn't reply, didn't do nothing, ended it.
That's how I stream, baby.
The only reason he knows you
stream.
dropped by the way, is because I saw it and told him.
Yeah, I had no
Yeah.
idea. I literally had no idea. To be fair, this time I did try and have the second monitor up, but I couldn't find the power cables. So that is why that happened. So I just literally clicked to go and then just never looked at it ever again. But we had a good run. Der Eisendrock done. We're moving on to bigger and better things. Zetsubo no Shima. That one shouldn't be too hard. And then we got the big boy. We got Gorod Krovi after that. That one, not even Jay has beat on his own yet. So this one's going to be tough. Yeah. That's my heart-to-heart is zombies. We're back. Also, Black Ops 6 is going to be so fucking sick.
Last week,
there's so much cool stuff.
If you're a listener right now and didn't listen to last week's episode, just please go listen to just the heart-to-heart as Wyatt talks about how grateful he is about his family, his daughter, about exploring dirt, and then just goes, Black Ops Zombies looks so fucking sick.
It does, though.
You have to see the segue in last week's Heart to Heart. Anyways.
It does. It was a beautiful segue. Jay, do you want to hit a heart to heart?
Sure. I was actually texting Jumba about this earlier, and I was thinking about how not going to be at Germany, and I was kind of bummed out about it, not going to lie. And it just made me kind of reflect a little bit on the experience with content creation over like the last year, and how it's led to the point where I have been privileged enough to be invited out to the last 3 LANs, and even got to work EWC, and how like crazy that is that I was literally bored at my old job one day and decided to make some YouTube videos, and then fast forward over a year later and I'm getting paid to talk about professional Apex. Like it's just made me very appreciative of all the people along the way, you guys, Wig, Greek, all the people behind the scenes, Lene, Ben, Marlena, all these people who have kind of like helped me along the way, whether it be as simple as inviting me on a podcast or watching my videos on stream or inviting me to go out to LANs. So yeah, I mean, I hate to be the gratitude guy since everybody's always the gratitude guy.
No, never hate to be the gratitude
No,
guy.
never hate that.
Never hate.
No shame in it.
I don't actually hate it.
We're excited for the gratitude. We got to keep the streak.
The sadness of me not going to Germany was very quickly followed up by a lot of appreciation for the reason that I get to be sad, which is that I've had all these really cool experiences, and I hope to have some more future LANs. So, yeah, very appreciative of the kind of wild journey over the last like year and a half.
Hell yeah. Jayhawk didn't even let you guys know we paid him $50,000 to be here right now. So, he's really
I wish,
moving up.
dog. I really wish you did.
It's like, what the fuck? We're getting paid?
Wait, you guys aren't?
Not me.
Where are we getting that?
It's coming out of the show's budget.
Yeah.
There we go. From the show.
Yeah. Since the show's making $50K apparently.
Per
Of
episode.
course.
Yeah.
Per pod. Yeah, that's a good positive affirmation that we just put out there. That's good stuff from us.
One day.
I'm gonna go with grit. I'm gonna go with grit as mine because I'm not gonna lie. The beginning, like this season for me, I just could not figure out what was going on. I had a really great day on the first day of ranked, and then since that first day of ranked, like I went from consistently putting up like 2-3K days, like 4K days, to I could not put together a single plus 1K RP day. I was like plus 300, plus 5. I'm talking like 12, 14-hour days to just I was like, I didn't think the aim assist hit me that hard. I was like, there ain't no way. And then I was like, I didn't know what was going on. Just couldn't get it together. And it was just a test. Just had to keep pushing. And then I started playing Maggie, and I literally am hard farming everything. And that character with the shotgun stuff is just absolutely busted. And shout out Maggie, because that has absolutely been the only thing that has been able to keep my ranked chances alive, probably keeping the career going. And so just focus on grit, as you just got to get through the bad that you face, and then eventually you're going to figure it out. And then you're going to put up 6K RP in Maggie in 2 days, which is more than you had the previous 2 weeks.
There we go.
And
I looked into the Maggie stuff after you talked about it. I didn't realize that she had a perk that, because like I pay so much attention to the comp. No one plays Maggie in comp really. I didn't realize she had a perk that on Nox reloads her guns. And so with those Mozams, the speed and then the reload, you never have to reload.
I don't even always get that one, dude, because the fireball is so good.
Oh,
dude,
yeah. The fireball one's the one I knew about.
The fireball is fire. I mean, they're both good. And like the Mozams thing, like you're right. But I mean, like, yeah, Maggie right now is just, I literally, like, if you enjoy playing Apex Legends, play Maggie, because literally you just push a fight. Your team, you're running in with shotguns. You stunned one of them can't see anything because they have a drill in their face, and you literally just, any building fight, you just clear them. It's just, I don't know what it is. Literally could not gain for my life. 6K last 2 days, and like literally I would say like 95% of my RP came from me playing Maggie this season.
I wanted to boot up Apex and play Maggie after I saw that.
Dude, the Massive, nuts. Like everybody's focus and attention is on the Mozams.
Yeah,
because like the Mozams are outrageous, and a nerf is coming, and whenever that nerf comes, like Massive is gonna be just on top, and like especially like good comp teams, you are going to be seeing people just get insta dropped, because like you over peak for a second against a team that's like playing a corner and they have Massives. 2 of them are hitting you for 90 apiece, and then the other guy hits you for what? Like if he has a shotgun, you're just dead, or if he has any other gun, like you're just dead. Like it's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, the reason I brought up the Mozams with the Maggie is because I believe it was Tree Shadow Tree dude's like movement, MNK, God, and then like it was like using Maggie with the Mozams and the reload perk. You have 12 shots, and this dude's styling on people and just never reloading. Like, and he's like, it's like full auto, like insane fire rate. So that's why it looked so ridiculous with his play style.
Oh, it's nuts, dude. It's so like you want to play Maggie right now. I'm a Maggie one trick, and I'm okay with it. I've very much settled in, and
it's okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, dude. It was a rough past couple of weeks. I was literally just like, what, like going from like consistently just putting up like minimum like 2K days to just feeling like I just can't figure out what to do and get things going, and just like keep the vibes right on stream when you're just sucking. And now I'm glad that we're back on top again.
It's okay. Hal hasn't won a LAN since he can't play Horizon, and that man's called the GOAT.
That's right.
Shots fired.
Well, ladies and gents, that should just about do it for this week's edition of the Apex the Podcast. Shout out for Jayhawk for hopping on the entire show. Predictions are in. Feel free to tweet at us talking about how great our predictions are, because I'm sure all of you guys loved all of them. Matafe, open invite onto the podcast. Whenever you're ready, you can hop on. Send me over a
I hope he doesn't
jersey.
listen to the previous episodes first.
He won't.
He's definitely. I doubt it. Somebody's gonna be like,
if you title the episode about him, he will.
Connor, Connor, no.
Yeah, Connor, don't do it.
Connor,
don't do it, Connor.
Dude,
thank you guys for
people are
tuning
gonna
in.
be going and be like, did you hear what they said about you?
yeah, in stream. Shout out to everybody for listening. And next week we have LAN. So we're going to have a whole new podcast series. Should have one up every single night for LAN next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we'll catch you guys soon. See ya.